Yan ang ulam natin.
Wow! Adobong manok!
Mabango. Masarap. Subo na. Simulan sa sarsa.
Malasa!
Pasok ang lasa. Pero may isang hindi pasok. Matigas ang manok. Bakit kaya? Dahil pangit ang quality ng manok, minadali pa ang pagluluto. Ay, sayang ang pera. Dapat mitikuloso. Tama?
Tama!
Ganyan din sa gobyerno natin. Gusto natin ng masarap na adobo. Matinong proseso na mula sa maayos na pagpaplano. Ang pagbili ng gamit ng gobyerno ay dapat nakaayon sa proseso upang matiyak ang pagbili ay sulit. Huwag munang magkamot ng ulo. Madali lang ang procurement. Hindi ito komplikado. Kailangan lang ng masusing pagpaplano at pagsunod sa proseso na itinakda ng Republic Act 9184. Ang RA 9184, mas kilala bilang Government Procurement Reform Act o GPRA, ay ang batas na nagtakda ng tamang proseso sa pagbili ng mga pangangailangan ng gobyerno, kagaya ng supplies, mga equipment, at general support services. Bahagi ng proseso ng pagbili ay ang procurement planning. Dito, nagpa-prioritize ng projects ang mga ahensya para makamit ang kanilang goals sang-ayon sa long-term plan ng buong gobyerno. Kasama rito ang pagtukoy sa tamang specifications at budget para sa procurement project. Lahat ng napagdesisyonan ng procurement projects ng isang ahensya ay ililista sa kanilang Annual Procurement Plan o APP kada taon. Anumang hindi nakalista sa APP ay hindi maaaring bilhin ng ahensya.
Bakit?
Para masiguro ang matalino at wastong paggamit ng pondo.
Tapos?
Para makasiguro na kumpleto at wastong lahat ng dokumento, ang ahensya ay magkakandak ng pre-procurement conference bago simulan ang pagbili. Mahalaga na malinaw ang pagkakasaad ng specifications and requirements sa bidding documents. Sunod dito ang paglalathala ng invitation to bid para hikayatin ang mga potential bidders na sumali sa procurement. Bago ang takdang araw ng pagsumite ng bids, magkakaroon ng pre-bid conference kung saan pag-uusapan kasama ang mga interesadong bidders ang lahat ng detalye tungkol sa proyekto. Ang mga interesadong bidders ay dapat palalahanan sa deadline ng submission of bids. Hindi kasi pwedeng tumanggap ng bid lagpas sa itinakdang petsa at oras. Tandaan na ang bid ay dapat na selyado at naglalaman ng dalawang hiwalay at selyadong envelopes kung saan nakapaloob ang mga required technical at financial documents. Ang technical envelope ay naglalaman ng mga dokumento na magpapatunay na eligible ang bidder na sumali sa procurement at ng kanyang technical na kakayanang i-deliver ang goods. Ang financial envelope naman ay naglalaman ng presyo na iniaalok ng bidder para sa proyekto. Isa-isang idadaan ng BAC sa simpleng pass or fail preliminary examination ang mga natanggap na bids para matukoy kung kumpleto ang mga dokumento at kung naaayon ito sa pamantayan. Unang bubuksan ang technical envelope ng lahat ng bidders. Kapag kulang o mali ang dokumentong nasa technical envelope ng bidder, hindi na bubuksan ang kanyang financial envelope. Ibig sabihin, tanggal na siya sa bidding. Kapag na-scrutinize na ang lahat ng technical envelopes, saka palang bubuksan ang financial envelopes ng mga nakapasang bidders. Laging tatandaan na hindi dapat mas mataas sa ABC ang presyo na iniaalok ng bidder. Anumang bid ang mas mataas sa ABC ay matatanggal rin.
Bakit?
Dahil ang ABC ang limitasyon ng presyo ng proyekto. Para masiguro ng gobyerno na hindi ito gagastos ng higit pa sa naibudget para sa taon. Sabi nga nila, spend within your means. Bubusisiin naman sa bid evaluation ang mga nakapasang bids upang, una, masigurong kumpleto at naaayon sa pamantayan ang mga impormasyon. At ikalawa, masigurong hindi labi sa ABC ang presyong ini-offer ng bidder. Pagkatapos nito, ay irarank ang mga nakapasang bids mula sa pinakamababang presyo. Ang pinakamababang bid ang tataguriang lowest calculated bid o LCB na isasalang sa post-qualification.
Post-qualification?
Ito ang proseso kung saan sinusuri ng BAC o ng Technical Working Group ang mga dokumento at impormasyong isinumite para matiyak na lahat ay tama at nasa ayos. Sinusuri rin ang mga nakaraang kontrata, pasilidad, produkto at pati pinansyal na katayuan ng LCB para masigurong kaya nitong i-deliver ang goods.
Bakit?
Dahil sa ganitong paraan, masisiguro ng BAC na ang mananalong bidder ay hindi lamang basta mababa ang presyo, kundi ito ay technically qualified. Kapag napatunayan sa pagsusuri na ang LCB ay nakapasa sa legal, technical, at financial requirements, ito ay tatawaging bidder na may lowest calculated responsive bid o LCRB na irerekomenda na gawaran ng kontrata. Ayan, ang proseso ng procurement sa gobyerno ay kasing dali lang ng pagluluto ng adobo. Kapag naplano at nahanap ang tamang sangkap, malamang walang palpak. Sa ganyang paraan, walang nasasayang. Tiyak na best quality at the best price ay swak na swak. Approve?
Approve!
Have you ever wondered how much does our government procure? Or maybe what procurement project covers it the most? Is it goods, infrastructure, or consulting? Good morning. I am Monica Marisadia from the Capacity Development Division, and I welcome you all to day 3 of the second batch of the online training on Government Procurement Reform Act, or the Republic Act number 9184 in its 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations for the municipal local government units. Brought to you, of course, by none other than the Government Procurement Policy Board Technical Support Office. To start our today's program, may I request everyone to put ourselves in the most mighty and holy presence of our Lord Jesus Christ. Father, we praise you for this event and your purpose for it. We know that when we gather together, you always have a divine agenda, and we love you for that. That even when we have done what you have asked, the results are so much greater than we ever could have imagined. Our prayer today is that your will be done through this training. Take what we have prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with your righteous will. Remind us of your faithful provision when our efforts fail or fall short. May all glory go up to you when we reach the finish line and climb over benchmarks. Blanket us with your peace today, Father. Keep us physically safe and guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light for all we set out to accomplish and celebrate. In Jesus' name, Amen. Once again, a blessed Wednesday morning to everyone. Also to our Facebook and YouTube live viewers who are with us or are still with us, joining us today through our official Facebook and YouTube live streaming. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. We hope po that we are all in our best spirits mid-week. Ang bilis-bilis po ng araw, Wednesday na. Nangangalahati na po tayo sa linggong ito na magkakasama. Batiin din po natin ang ating mga katabi ng magandang umaga. At sabihin po natin, good job. We are halfway there. Ayan. So at this point po, Before we shift focus to our lecture proper, you probably know by now po the drill. Of course, let us first have our early bird awardees for today. Ayan, congratulations po to our early bird participant from Municipality of Amulong, Cagayan, Miss Dina Green Salvador. Congratulations po, ma'am. Ayan. And of course, to our second early bird participant from Municipality of San Mateo, Rizal, Miss Geraldine Lumiged. Ayan, congratulations po mga ma'am. And once again, our event secretariat shall coordinate with you on how you may claim your special token. Ayan, so before we go ahead po with the lecture proper, here is a quick recap of yesterday's learning session. So yesterday, we had a very much productive learning session on procurement planning and budget linkage, including early procurement activities, where we had an extensive discussion on the fundamentals of procurement planning, where we also highlighted the project procurement management plan and annual procurement plan. Towards the end of the lecture proper, we had an in-depth discussion on the scope and applications of the conduct of early procurement activities, led, of course, by our GPPB recognized trainer, Ms. Bracella Ortiz. Today, I am ecstatic because we are now on the fourth learning session of this virtual event, which is an entire session on standard bidding procedures for goods, infrastructure projects, and consulting services. We are now midway towards the end of our virtual event, and we hope po na napupuno na ang ating mga notepads with all of the information that we have discussed over the past days. Ayan, so now that is all set, I wouldn't keep you any longer na po, so please allow me to introduce to you with great pleasure this learning session's resource speaker. Our resource speaker obtained his Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of the Philippines cum laude and his Bachelor of Science in Legal Management degree from the Ateneo de Manila University cum laude. He obtained his Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Bradford and his Master of Laws degree from the University of Durham in the United Kingdom as a British government scholar. Prior to joining government, he worked as an associate at the Accra Law Office and a consultant at the Asian Development Bank Administrative Tribunal. He formerly served as the Assistant Secretary for Procurement and the Director for Legal Service of the Department of Transportation. He was also the Chief Privatization Officer of the Privatization and Management Office, an agency attached to the Department of Finance. Presently, he is a member of the Faculty of the College of Law of the University of the Philippines and the University of the East, where he teaches various civil and commercial law subjects. He holds the rank of CESO 1, the highest rank in the Career Executive Service. He also completed levels 1 to 3 of the Public Procurement Specialist Certification course conducted by the Government Procurement and Policy Board Technical Support Office. Joining us today, Undersecretary for Legislative Affairs and Partnerships of the Department of Education and a GPPB recognized trainer, please welcome Undersecretary Gerard L. Chan.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of your lecture series on government procurement. The topic for this morning will be the procedures for procurement of goods, infra, and consulting. So it will be a bit longer and more detailed discussion compared to your earlier discussions on the introductory topics on on procurement. Let me share the screen. Ayan. Ayan. So the topic for today's lecture is the standard bidding procedures for goods, infrastructure projects, and consulting. So you will see, as mentioned in previous lectures, our procurement are categorized into three categories. So goods, infra, and consulting. So the first thing that you have to ask yourself is what kind of procurement are we talking about? What kind of procurement are we dealing with? Is it goods? Is it infra? Is it consulting? Why? Because the procedures for goods, infra, and consulting, the documentary requirements, the evaluation process is not the same. Okay? So that's why it's important for us to understand first or categorize first what kind of procurement we are dealing with. Ayan. Okay. So goods, infra, and consulting. The purpose of this lecture is to give everyone a deeper understanding, or gain a deeper understanding of the concepts and key concepts in the bidding procedure for goods, infra, and consulting. Okay. And so this will be the topics we will cover in the next few hours. First part is some general principles and considerations, which many of these you already know. This is a brief review before we dive into the actual process of good procurement procedure and requirements. We'll go into details on what are the specific requirements or specific salient points pagdating sa goods, infra, and consulting. Dito muna tayo sa general principles, a review of what you already know before we start into the main meat of the lecture. The general mode of procurement under the rules, general rule is the long method, the competitive bidding. Diba? Competitive bidding as the default mode of procurement. And by way of exception, we do the alternative methods of procurement. There's a separate lecture on alternative methods of procurement. The topic of the lecture today is this one, the long method, the competitive bidding method. Okay. By way of exception, the IRA 9184 provides for certain alternative methods of procurement if justified under certain special list of circumstances, which you have to comply before you avail of the alternative methods of procurement. What is the purpose of competitive bidding? It aims to protect public interest for the best possible advantages through open competition. The purpose of public bidding is to avoid or preclude suspicion of favoritism and anomalies. Right? So the whole idea of competitive bidding is that all the bidders, the suppliers, the contractors, and the consultants would have to compete. The idea is when these parties compete, government is able to get the best deal, best value for the money if there's really an honest and open competition. Because they will compete in terms of price, in terms of quality of products and all. So we as the end user, we as the consumer, are the ones who will actually benefit with this kind of open competition. Another important concept, no APP, no procurement. So every item of procurement should be, or every procurement activity should find its basis in the approved annual procurement plan. So kung wala siya sa annual procurement plan, walang basis to procure. Hindi tayo magpo-procure kung wala siya sa approved annual procurement plan. The method itself of the procurement, kung paano siya i-procure, whether it's public bidding, it's like here the screen, shopping, agencies to agencies, small value procurement, and all that, should also be indicated in the APP. So in your procurement 101, pinag-usapan ano yung goods, ano yung infra, ano yung consulting. Diba? I said a while ago, kailangan alam natin kung anong klaseng procurement siya because iba yung rules, depending on anong klaseng procurement yung pinag-uusapan. So in procurement 101, napag-usapan nyo ano yung goods. Yung goods are all these: subscription licenses, repairs, lease of office space, office equipment, furniture, security, janitorial, supplies and materials. Lahat ito ay goods, no? Including services. So janitorial and security services are counted as goods. So yung gagamitin ng procedure ay para sa procedure ng goods. Ano naman ang infra? No? Ang infra, kasama ito sa mga infra like railways, no, lighthouses, bridges. Of course, infra is buildings, IT projects, airports, sewerage system, irrigation system, school buildings, of course, yan, plumbing system and all. Yan, irrigation and all this. Lahat ito ay infra. And in Procurement 101 ang pag-usapan, it includes construction, even renovation, demolition, retrofitting, and everything. Okay, hindi lang siya basta construction, even renovation, even repair, no? Ay counted as infra. About consulting. Consulting naman ay includes advisory and review services. Ito medyo intangible, hindi mo siya nahahawakan. Unlike goods and infra, no? Advisory and review services, pre-investment or feasibility studies, design, construction supervision, management and related services, other technical services or special studies. So these are what is covered by consulting services. So another important concept by way of review is our bidding procedure. We follow the two envelope system. Okay, there are two envelopes in our bid: the financial envelope and the technical envelope. But technical and eligibility envelope, and then the second envelope is the financial envelope. If we're doing online bidding or electronic submission of bids, ganito rin ang style. No, meron kang technical envelope, technical and eligibility envelope, and then financial envelope, and then yung mismong bid envelope mo. And we'll discuss later on, pag electronic online submission of bids, meron kang password protected. So password protected itong mga envelopes na ito. Okay. Who are eligible to bid? So duly licensed Filipino citizens or sole proprietorship. Corporation, 60% Filipino. Partnership, 60% Filipino. Joint venture, 60% Filipino. So, okay, so if it's like this, no, 60% Filipino ownership. Cooperatives duly organized under the laws of the Philippines, and foreign bidders in cases where treaty, international or executive agreements allow, no, the foreign bidders to participate. Okay. So ito yung nabanggit kanina, no, there's already an amendment. Dati kasi for partnerships, it's 75% Filipino. Now it's already uniform, everything 60%. No, partnership 60%, corporation 60% Filipino, and even joint venture 60% Filipino. Unlike before na 75% pag partnerships. Okay, so everything is now uniform, 60% Filipino ownership. EO 65 series of 2018. When do we hire consultants? A while ago I mentioned, no, consultants are a bit more intangible yung mga intangible yung deliverable nila. So when do we hire a consultant? Nabanggit ito sa 101, when there is a need for expertise, experience, and capability. Diba nalabas? Diba nabanggit ito sa 101? Expertise, experience, and capability ay labas doon sa ahensya. Yung karunungan na yan ay hindi nasa loob ng ahensya. Otherwise, why are you hiring consultant? Kung yung expertise, experience, and capability niyan ay nasa loob na ng ahensya nyo. May someone na nasa loob ng ahensya na kayang gawin yan. So ibig sabihin, nasa labas siya. Walang ganong expertise, experience, and capability doon sa loob ng agency. That's why you hire a consultant. No, later on, we'll discuss kung paano ang evaluation ng consultancy contracts or consultancy procurement. So merong cost, merong bidding for consultancy na kasama ang cost, meron din hindi kasama ang cost. No? So in some instances, cost is included as a factor in selection under certain conditions, which we'll discuss later. Diba? Kasi as a general proposition, pagdating sa consultancy, you know, you're hiring them because of their knowledge, their experience, their expertise, and their capability. Hindi dapat usually kasama ang cost as a consideration. Kasi ang basis of evaluation is their expertise, experience, and capability. But in certain instances, sinasama natin ang cost as a factor of evaluation. Where applicable, in certain instances, pwede natin ilagay doon sa contract no, that there is a technology and knowledge transfer shall be required in provision of consulting services. So pwedeng ilagay dun sa contract that there must be a training involved, na may technology transfer, para hindi lang basta pag-alis ng consultant, then we're back to zero. No, meron silang naiwan na mga knowledge transfer sa ahensya. Okay? So yun ang mga kailangan tandaan pagdating sa consultant. So in consultancy, we'll discuss later on ranking, no? Para siyang contest, para siyang beauty pageant, may ranking. Rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. Later on, we'll talk about the rating, kung paano mag-rate ng consultancy contracts or consultancy procurement. Now, let's go to the invitation to observers. So pagdating sa observers, there must be at least 3 observers. Diba? In addition to the resident COA, we also invite 2 other observers, and they are duly recognized private sector group. Hindi lang kung sino. They are duly recognized na meron tayong list of observers kung sino yung i-invite natin as observer. The observers must be invited 5 calendar days before the date of the procurement of the following procurement activities. So ibig sabihin, whenever we're doing these 4 types of procurement, we need to invite the observers 5 calendar days before. No, pre-bid conference, preliminary examination of bid, bid evaluation, and post-qualification. So pag ganito ang procurement activity, we must invite the observers at least 5 days before the activity. Okay, so kung if they attend, or even if they didn't attend, it's okay, so long as we can show that we invited them 5 days before these 4 activities. So take note of these 4 activities. Kailangan na invite ang observers in these 4 activities. This is also something new. Meron na tayong field JEPs, modernized field JEPs. So the observers must be given access to the modernized field JEPs. Okay. So the B is to provide online access to observers for monitoring all stages of the procurement using the field JEPs, modernized field JEPs. Let's now pause for a while to check your knowledge, how far you understand. We arrive at this far in the lecture, so let's pause for a brief knowledge check.
Thank you, Sek-chan. At this point, we reached our first knowledge check question for today. So again, we will be flashing our knowledge check question through the Zoom polling feature, and all you have to do is choose the appropriate answer in the pop-up poll that shall be flashed in our screen. So the question is, which of the following is not considered as goods? Letter A, analogous services. Letter B, subscription and licenses. Letter C, office equipment. Letter D, design and build. Or letter E, security and janitorial services. For our Facebook and YouTube Live viewers, drop your answers in the comments section. Ayan. Let us also know po your LGUs in the comment section so we can have a big shout out to you all. I can see Ma'am Tin Tiloy from LGU Miagao, Iloilo. Thank you, ma'am, for staying with us. Ayan. We also have from LGU Perez, Quezon, Sir Diosdado Dones. We also have, I can see you, Sir Roy Dimakulangan from LGU Legazpi Albay. Dios mabalos, sir. Dios mabalos for staying with us until today. Ayan, I'm seeing answers. Majority po, Yusek Chan is letter D. While in our Zoom poll po, majority answered as well. 50% answered letter D. Ayan, may mga humahabol pa po. I'm seeing you, Sir Jenner Lagata from LGU Barcelona, Sorsogon. Dios mabalos, sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. We also have Sir Halo from LGU. Such a beautiful day. Thank you very much for staying with us and for joining us today. Ayan. I think we can have the results now. And yung mga habol. And 53% of our participants, official Zoom participants, answered letter D, 37% answered B, 11% answered letter A. Hold on, I think unmute, Yusek. Let me just ask you to unmute.
Hello
hear
everyone.
you.
Okay ba yung audio? Yes, that is correct. No, the answer is design and build. If you see the choices, all of the good, it good includes goods and services. In design and build, that is infrastructure po. So the answer is design and build po yung hindi counted as goods.
Thank you very much, Sec Chan. So again, for those who have answered wrong, please take note of the correct answer, and the correct answer is letter D, design and build. All right, so we may now proceed po with the lecture discussion. Thank you.
So let's continue here now to the main topic of the lecture, which is the competitive bidding procedures and requirements for goods, for infra, and for consulting. So, ito yung flow chart, no? Iisa-isahin natin to, hihimay-himayin natin to kada step na ito. But ito yung big picture. Ito yung flow chart, general picture for goods and services. Ayan. Pareho naman siya sa infra. Nagkaiba lang ng konti sa consulting, but ang pinagkaiba talaga nila is yung number of days. You'll see later on. So, nandyan nakalagay sa screen yung number of days kung kailan dapat matapos o makomplete yung proseso na yan. So, advertisement 7 days, pre-bid conference 1 day, submission of bids and opening, no, 45 days, bid ranking, bid evaluation 7 days, post-qual 12 or 45 days, and the award 15 days. So, nakalagay dyan yung very strict ang 9184 pagdating sa number of days, no, to complete the process. Infra, same, no? Same yung flow na pagdadaanan niya, pre-procurement, advertisement, pre-bid, and then yung opening, and then bid evaluation, post-qualification, and then the award. Okay? Nagkaiba dito sa number of days para doon sa opening of bids, opening and evaluation of bids, no? 50 and 65. Compared to yung kanina, no? Compared to yung kanina, which is 45 days, sa infra ay hindi 45 days, kung hindi 50 or 65 calendar days. All the rest are the same. No? Pag-uusapan natin mamaya kailan ang 50, kailan ang 65. It will depend upon the ABC. Okay? The number of days. Let's go to consulting. Ganito ulit yung flow chart ng consulting, pre-procurement, ganyan. Ang pinagkaiba ng consulting is meron siyang shortlisting and meron siyang negotiation. So mapapansin, no? 'Di ba? Dito meron siyang extra step. Meron siyang shortlisting dito na not more than 20 calendar days. Okay? At meron siyang negotiation dito na not more than 10 calendar days. But all the rest are the same. Right? All the rest are the same. So may nasingit siyang dalawang step. Yun ang pinagkaiba ng consulting. So again, you'll see the main flow is the same. Yung number of days lang yung nagkaiba. Okay? So, given the number of days kanina, kita natin na ito yung shortest period, earliest period na tinatawag for goods. You can finish the whole procurement cycle in as short as 26 days or as long as maximum period of 136 days for goods. Okay? Kung in-add up mo lahat ng mga number of days kanina, ito yun. So ito yung ating limit. Hindi tayo dapat lumampas dito, otherwise magkakaroon tayo ng problem, no? Because we already exceeded the maximum number of days to complete the period. Pag infra naman, the shortest, fastest that you can finish is 26 days. Okay? And then the longest period, again, depending on yung ABC, okay, 50 days or 65 days is the either 141 calendar days or 156 calendar days, excluding yung mga number of days na to ay excluding approval of higher authority, if applicable. Kung yung contract ay kailangan ma-approve, i-approve sa higher authority, hindi kasama sa bilang na ito. Basta matapos mo yung process mo, makarating ka dun sa award ng contract by 26 days or 141 or 156 days. About for consulting. Consulting, the shortest period na matatapos mo siya is 36 days. Again, kasi sa consulting, meron tayong shortlisting at meron tayong negotiation. The longest number of days na matapos mo siya ay 180 days for consulting. Again, excluding approval of higher authority if applicable. Okay? Oh, nabanggit natin yung approval of higher authority. No? Minsan kasi yung contract, kailangan iakyat pa, may higher authority pa someone pa yung mas mataas na sa hope, kunyari, ay yung mag-approve. Approval of higher authority means yung someone na higher pa doon sa hope, kailangan i-approve. No? Hindi yung hope, yung higher pa. Kaya approval of higher authority. So bibigyan natin siya ng 20 days kung approving of higher authority, or kunyari iakit pa siya sa GOCC's board ng GOCC 30 days. So after that, to approve or disapprove the contract. To approve or disapprove the contract. Kung meron pang mas mataas, approving higher authority. There's this resolution of GPPB in order to have a more efficient procurement. Pinayagan ng GPPB ang use of digital signature. Procurement officers and officials may digitally or electronically sign procurement documents. Okay. Nakalista rin dito yung mga documents na pwedeng gamitan ng electronic signature or digital signature. Okay. So ito. So again, it's for purposes of efficiency and economy in the procurement. No, para hindi na kailangan maghintay na papasok pa sa opisina yung taong yon para magpumirma. Minsan pinapayagan na natin gamitin ang electronic signature. So from PPNP to APP all the way until even notice of award, even the approval of higher authority, notice to proceed, back resolution, lahat ito pwedeng gamitan ng electronic signature. No? So nakalista dito ano yung mga pwedeng gamitan ng electronic signature. Also 91.8, the GPPB also allowed us to use the webcasting and similar technology. Again, kung merong umabsent na member ng BAC, hindi kailangan matigil yung BAC activity. No? Let's say may sakit o naka-travel or what, pwede siya mag-join ng BAC meeting, no, through Zoom or through other webcasting or similar technology at hindi magkakaroon pa rin ng quorum. So since may quorum, tuloy pa rin yung BAC activity, no, kahit wala siya sa opisina. Okay? So that's the quorum. A member of the BAC may be present either in person or face-to-face through video conferencing, webcasting, or similar technology. For the PEs with such technology. You will notice as early as 2018, no, before COVID, pinapayagan na ang Zoom, pinapayagan ang webcasting. During that time, maybe Skype. No? So this is not a new innovation. This is not something new. This is not because of COVID. This is already there since 2018. Even way before COVID, the GPPB has already allowed us to use webcasting technology for BAC meetings. Decisions made of at least a majority of the BAC members present using such technology shall be considered valid and binding. Okay. Hindi mga pwedeng gamitan ng webcasting or similar technology. So pre-procurement conference, even the bid opening, and all other procurement activities and meetings. Diba? All other activities and meetings ay pwedeng gamitan ng webcasting or similar technology. Okay? So ganun siya. That's GPPB Resolution 24-2018. Umpisahan natin siya. So pre-procurement conference. Actually, this is before the actual bidding, merong pre-procurement conference. The purpose of pre-procurement conference is to determine the readiness of the procurement. Okay, so kung alin na yung ready, meron na tayong pondo na pag-usapan nyo doon sa procurement planning and budgeting cycle. Diba, kailangan magkaroon ng planning, tapos pagkatapos ng planning, meron na ka ng pondo. Now, may pondo ka na. Anong gagawin mo doon sa pondo? Sino yung unang aling bidding o aling procurement, aling item ang unang i-procure? So, dadaan tayo sa pre-procurement conference to determine the readiness of the procurement. Kung talagang ready na yung particular item na yun na i-procure bago natin i-launch yung actual procurement. It's conducted prior to the advertisement or posting of the invitation to bid. It is mandatory for projects with ABCs above 2 million for goods, above 5 million for infra, and above 1 million for consulting services. Okay, so mandatory siya. And sino yung involved? It is a pre-procurement conference, so internal lang siya. Hindi pa kasama yung bidders. Hindi pa kasama yung mga nasa labas. Yung nasa loob pa lang. No, back secretariat, TWG, even the consultants, end users, and other officials are involved in the pre-procurement conference. Goods. No reference to brand names. As a general rule, you cannot put brand names in your product specification, technical specifications for goods, right? Hindi mo siya ilalagay doon. So the prohibition applies to procurement of goods and goods component of infrastructure and consulting. So pag nagpo-procure ng goods, walang ilalagay na brand names. Only yung description niya doon sa technical specification. Except, may exception. Specification should be based on, well, so kung nagagawa ka ng technical specification, the specification should be based on relevant characteristics, functionality, and performance requirement. Hindi mo ilalagay yung brand name. I-describe mo lang kung ano yung characteristic niya, ano yung functionality niya, ano yung performance requirements niya. Diba? Except for items or parts that are compatible with the existing fleet or equipment of the same make and brand, and to maintain the performance, functionality, and useful life of the equipment. Okay? So except, kung hindi maiiwasan, no, ilalagay mo lang yung brand name kung ito lang yung exception for parts that are compatible with the existing fleet or equipment of the same make and brand, and to maintain the performance, functionality, and useful life of the equipment. Let's say, sasakyan siya, kailangan yung sasakyan, Toyota kunyari, so yung parts kailangan Toyota. Right? Hindi pwedeng iba. So kung ganun, wala kang choice. Kailangan Toyota yung kukunin mo or a particular brand. Dahil yun lang yung compatible doon sa, or let's say printer. No, yung printer, yung toner niya, yung ink niya, ay kailangan ganun. Wala kang choice. So kung ganun, ilagay mo compatible with Epson, compatible with Toyota. Right? Ganun. That's the only time babanggitin mo yung Toyota or yung Epson. If kailangan mo siya to maintain the performance, functionality, and useful life of the equipment, such that kung ibang brand ang ginamit mo, baka masira. No, baka ma-avoid yung warranty or baka masira siya. Okay, Section 18 of 9184 in its IRR. That is for goods. Siyempre for infra and consulting, wala namang brand yun. Other than kung goods component ng infra and consulting. Ito, nabanggit natin ito kanyang electronic receipt of bids. No? So kung kaya ng agency, no, pwede tayong pumasok sa electronic or online submission of bids. Kung kaya, kung may ganong infrastructure, kung may ganong capacity yung agency na tumanggap ng online or electronic submission of bids, then pwede. Bago ito, no, under GPPB Resolution 9-2020, the BAC shall decide whether to allow online or electronic submission and receipt of bids based on the PE's procurement needs and capability. And it shall be clearly stated sa invitation to bid na papasok kayo sa online or electronic submission bids. Dalawang paraan ng online or electronic submission bids. Either any electronic means, ibig sabihin yung agency meron siyang portal or meron siyang any means na makatanggap ng electronic submission of bids, or gagamitin natin yung GPPB online portal. Yung GPPB, gumawa sila ng online portal para tayo ay makapaggamit or makapagsagawa ng online online or electronic submission of bids. Pero itong GPPB online portal, hindi pa siya tapos. So under construction pa rin. Ito, kaling decide na gumamit ng online or electronic submission of bids, kailangan yung agency maglabas ng certification. Under GPPB Resolution 12-2020, mag-certify siya na siya ay nagko-comply doon sa minimum requirement ng online or electronic submission of bids. Kasi pagdating sa online or electronic submission of bids, may mga minimum requirement na dapat meron yung sistema ninyo para makapag-conduct ng online or electronic submission of bids. Magsa-certify ka na compliant kayo doon. So it should be issued by the highest official managing the information technology system of the agency. So i-describe mo doon kung ano yung proseso ng inyong online or electronic submission of bids. Advertisement. Ang invitation to bid tayo, di ba? So saan mo ilalagay yung advertisement? Saan mo ipopost ang advertisement ng invitation to bid? 7 days. It must be posted 7 days continuously. Saan? Number 1, sa PhilJEP's website. Okay. Number 2, sa website ng inyong government agency. Number 3, sa bulletin board ng agency ninyo, sa mismo bulletin board doon sa opisina. And later on, number 4, may bagong lumabas sa social media platform, sa social media account ng agency ninyo kung meron kayong social media account. So PhilJEP's agency's website, bulletin board, social media account. Napansin niyo tinanggal na yung requirement na mag-publish sa newspaper. So wala nang newspaper publication. Nakalagay, sunset provision, wala nang newspaper. Advertisement of opportunities in a newspaper shall no longer be required. No, 2 years after the 2016 IRR, so which is October 28, 2018 onwards. Wala nang newspaper publication. PhilJeps, website, bulletin board, and social media account. Documents fee. So may listahan tayo ng fee. Dito kung magkano yung magkano natin pwede ibenta yung amount, i-presyo doon sa bidding document. Depende siya sa ABC. So it could be as low as 500 pesos to as high as 75,000 pesos for ABC of more than 500 million pesos. Okay, so naka-fix na siya, unlike before. Before was a percentage of the ABC, now it is fixed amount. Itong bid documents fee may be refunded. May be refunded based on kung ang bid ay na-cancel dahil sa Section 41. So kung ang dahilan kung ba't hindi natuloy ang bid or hindi natuloy ang award ay because of Section 41, then pwedeng i-cancel pwedeng i-refund yung bid documents fee. Okay, Section 41 is the reservation clause. Nakalista dyan ang grounds wherein the head of the procuring entity is allowed to cancel or not award the contract. Eligibility checking, shortlisting in consulting services. Remember a while ago I mentioned, ang consulting services may extra step, meron siyang shortlisting. So, pag shortlisting, the submission of request for expression of interest and eligibility requirement, a prospective bidder should submit its expression of interest together with the required eligibility documents on or before the date and time for submission of such requirement. May shortlisting na magaganap bago ang pre-bid. So only those shortlisted consultants ang pwedeng mag-join sa actual bidding. Yun ang sinasabi dito. So shortlisting, ano yung shortlisting? This is only applicable for consultancy services, consulting services, hindi kasama sa goods and infra. What shortlisting is the process of determining the most qualified consultant from those that submitted eligibility requirements. So, ilan yung shortlisting mo? 3 to 5 consultants with 5 as the preferable number. Okay, so you will shortlist 3 to 7 consultant. So yung mga consultant na nakalusot or nakapasok sa shortlist, sila yung i-invite natin na mag-join sa bidding. So papadala natin sila ng notice of eligibility and shortlisting. Notice of eligibility and shortlisting. To tell them na kasama sila sa shortlist at na sila ay sasama sa next step in the procurement. So ano yung mga pwede natin gamitin? Ano yung criteria na gagamitin natin for the shortlisting? So ito yung recommended. Applicable experience, 50%. Qualification of the personnel, 30%. Workload relative to job capacity, 20%. So ito yung gagamitin natin na criteria for the shortlisting. So as I said, ang consulting para siyang beauty pageant. So yung back, i-rank mo sila, may score sheet. So bibigyan sila ng rating, tapos i-rank siya from highest to lowest. And the back recommends the shortlist to the HOOP for consideration and approval. So i-approve pa ni HOOP yung shortlist. So only shortlisted consultants can submit the proposal. Okay, so yun, may extra step. As I said, yung consulting, kaya natin siya pinag-uusapan dito. Paano naman ang foreign bidders? So may equivalent. Okay. So assuming it is a foreign bidder, yung class A, document niya kailangan merong nakalakip na English. It must be in English. If it is not, then it must have a translation in English by, so ito yung mga pwedeng tanggapin na translation, relevant foreign government agency authorized to translate documents, or a registered translator in the foreign bidder's country. So it must be translated into English. Okay, yung documents niya. Apostille Convention. So in order to shortcut the process of getting all these certified documents from abroad, pinapayagan natin because the Philippines has acceded to the Hague Convention, abolishing the requirement of legalization for foreign public documents. This is effective May 14, 2019. Okay, so pwede na ang authentication through an apostille. It shortens the process for authenticating documents of foreign bidders who intend to participate in government procurement in the Philippines. So pinapayagan natin ang apostille. Okay. However, for contracting parties to the Apostille Convention, the documents should be authenticated through an apostille, except for countries identified by DFA, which will still require legalization, yung may red ribbon, by the relevant embassy or consulate, kung hindi sila kasama dito sa apostille. But as a rule, pwede na ang apostille para mas mapabilis. No? Tapos na yung invitation to bid. Tapos na yung pre-bid conference. Tapos na yung invitation to bid. Nag-advertise na tayo ng invitation to bid. So the next step is the pre-bid conference. Okay? Kanina is pre-procurement, sorry. Tapos na tayo mag-pre-procurement conference. Tapos na tayo mag-advertise ng invitation to bid. Okay? Bumili na sila ng mga bid docs kung sakali. Then nandito na tayo sa pre-bid conference. Okay? Kanina was pre-procurement conference. Yung pre-procurement conference is internal. No? Internal lang within the agency to assess the readiness. Now, pre-bid conference, kasama na si bidder, no? Kasama na si bidder dyan, at kasama na rin si observer sa pre-bid conference, no? To discuss, clarify, explain. No? Kausapin na ng bidder si BAC at i-explain or i-clarify kung ano yung nakalagay doon sa bidding documents. It must be done 12 days before. 12 days before the deadline of bid submission. So the purpose of pre-bid conference is to discuss, clarify, and explain, among other things, the eligibility requirement and the technical and financial component of the contract to be bid, including questions and clarifications raised by the prospective bidders before and during the pre-bid conference. So yun ang purpose ng pre-bid conference. No? Clarify, explain, okay, yung technical and financial component, and as well as the eligibility requirements. Kung anong question meron ang mga bidders tungkol sa bidding documents at tungkol sa bidding in general, meron silang pagtatanungan. 12 days before deadline lang ang magawa ang pre-bid conference. Okay. Naglabas si GPBB resolution ng resolution 2-2018 saying the BAC shall have a proactive role during the pre-bid conference. Kasi, what if wala silang tanong? What if nag-pre-bid conference kayo, tapos wala silang tanong? So, anong gagawin? So, kung basahin mo yung 2-2018, there are measures to maximize the pre-bid conference para hindi masayang yung pagpunta ng mga bidders at pag-conduct natin ng pre-bid conference, the BAC should have a proactive role. No? Like, pwede mong gamitin yung pre-bid conference as an opportunity to give reminders. No, i-remind niyo yung mga bidders na ito yung mga common mistakes, wag natin silang gawin kasi common mistake yan for disqualification, nakakalimutan ito, nakakalimutan yan. So parang reminder, we could remind the bidders na wag nilang kalimutan to, wag nilang kalimutan yan, diba? Yung mga ganon tips, especially for, let's say, may mga first-time bidders, we can give them tips on how to complete, no, how to prepare and compile documents para hindi ma-disqualify, ano yung mga common mistakes, ano yung mga dapat tandaan, mga dapat huwag kalimutan. So yun, no? So let's try to maximize the pre-bid conference. Kahit wala silang tanong, kahit walang tanong yung mga bidders, dapat engage natin yung mga bidders to guide them and make sure hindi mag-fail yung bidding kasi hindi nila alam kung paano mag-submit ng bid, for instance. The minutes of the meeting of the pre-bid conference shall no longer be posted in the procuring entity's website. GPPB Resolution 4-2021. Hindi na ipopost ang minutes of the pre-bid conference sa website ng procuring entity. After the pre-bid conference, maglalabas tayo ng bid bulletin. Maglalabas ng bid bulletin to embody yung mga napag-usapan or yung mga sagot sa katanungan during the pre-bid conference. Nakalagay siya sa bid bulletin at ang bid bulletin ay kailangan ilabas 7 days before the deadline. Pre-bid conference 12 days before the deadline. Bid bulletin 7 days before the deadline. Okay, and queries must be submitted by the bidders 10 days before the deadline. Okay, para ma-entertain siya, diba? Kailangan i-submit siya 10 days before the deadline bid submission. Okay, ano yung purpose ng bid bulletin? To answer questions, requests for clarification or interpretation, and to clarify or modify any provision of the bidding document. So in writing yung sagot via a bid bulletin. Pagkatapos ng invitation to bid, pagkatapos ng pre-bid conference, ready na mag-submit ang bidders ng kanilang bid. So next step is submission and receipt of bids. Magsasubmit sila ng bid. So here on the screen, a while ago we talked about 2 envelope system. So ayan ang first envelope sa kaliwa, ayan ang second envelope sa kanan. Sa first envelope, may dalawang klaseng document, the eligibility document and the technical documents. And then, the second envelope, yung financial proposal. Okay, financial proposal. Merong bid validity, 120 calendar days from date of the opening of the bid. So your bid, the bid of the bidder should be valid for 120 days. Walang palitan ng presyo. No? Hindi pwedeng magpalit, magtaas o magbaba ng presyo within the period of 120 days from the opening of the bid. Yun ang bid validity. Okay. Electronic submission of bids. Balik tayo dito. Napag-usapan kanina. So ito yung mga kailangan na nilalaman ng mga guidelines. Ito yung mga guidelines when assuming you want to embark on electronic submission of bids. Kailangan ito yung mga meron ang sistema ninyo. Number one, you must have a two-factor security procedure. No? Kailangan yung kanina, no? Capable ng archive and password protected. Okay. Number two, allow access to a password protected bidding document. Okay? So kailangan yung system mo kaya mag-allow ng mga password protected, makatanggap ng password protected bidding documents. Password shall be disclosed by the bidders only during the actual bid opening. And number three, capable of generating an audit trail of transaction. Yung tipong pag nag-submit yung bidder, pag nag-click siya ng submit, makakatanggap siya, let's say, ng email, confirmation kung anong oras pumasok yung bid, or let's say, makatanggap siya ng text kung anong oras pumasok yung bid. Yung parang sa BIR or sa SEC, yung meron kang email na matatanggap confirming na nakapasok yung bid mo, yung mga ganun. Dapat may ganung capability yung inyong sistema para gumawa kayo ng electronic submission of bids. Kung hindi kaya, okay lang, then we go to manual. We do the manual submission of bids, yung kanina yung dalawang envelope. Okay? Assuming you want to do the online or electronic submission of bids, so ganito siya. So again, first envelope, technical envelope, naka-password protected. And then yung second envelope, the financial envelope, naka-password protected. And then yung main envelope ay naka-password protected. The bids submitted bids must be encrypted and password protected. So yun ang requirement natin kung magkakaroon tayo ng electronic or online submission of bids. Yung topic ng sealing and marking of bids. Okay? Sealing and marking of bids. So ayan. So, yung first, yung original technical, envelope 1, and then original financial, envelope number 2. So yung envelope 1 and envelope 2, ilalagay natin sa isang envelope, which is the bid envelope. Tapos yung bid envelope, nakalagay pa dito kung ano yung mga label na kailangang ilagay. No? It must contain the name of the contract to be bid, the name and address of the bidder, the recipient pack, pure entity, and yung do not open before the date or time of the opening of the bid. Okay. Assuming magre-require tayo ng copy ng bid. So meron tayong copy 1 of the technical, and then copy 1 of the financial, 'di ba? So yung copy 1 yung photocopy ng 1, and then copy 1 ng envelope 1, and then copy 1 ng envelope number 2 ay ilalagay natin sa isang envelope called the copy 1. So yung laman sa loob are the copies, photocopies. So may label din siya, nakalagay copy 1. O kung ilang copies ang ni-require natin, copy 1, copy 2, copy 3. Okay? And then, ang gagawin natin, yung original plus yung copy ay ilalagay pa sa isang mas malaki envelope, isang mas malaking box. Andun yung pinaka-bid mo, iisa lang siya. Okay? So kung copy 1, let's say nag-require tayo ng 2 or 3 copies, then copy 2, copy 3. Diba? And then original, copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, and then yung bid envelope mo. Lahat yun kailangan nasa isang box, isang envelope, ayun yung pinaka-bid envelope mo. Then may sarili din siyang label. No? Name of the contract to be bid, name and address of the bidder, the recipient back, and then the do not open for the date and time of submission. So ganun yun. Yung topic ng unsealed and unmarked versus improperly sealed and improperly marked. Okay? So pag unsealed and unmarked or not password protected for electronic submission ay disqualified. Disqualified siya. Hindi siya sealed, hindi siya marked. Kasi walang nakasulat, hindi siya nakabalot. Okay? Hindi siya nakatape. Okay? Pero pag improperly sealed or improperly marked or improperly compressed ay dapat tanggapin. Improperly sealed is yung kalahati lang, or nabuksan siya pero kalahati nabuksan. Improperly sealed, hindi siya na-sealed ng mabuti, or improperly marked. May kulang na detalye na naisulat. Okay, kulang na kasi nakalimutan ilagay yung what date or name or what. Improperly marked, improperly sealed, ay dapat tanggapin. Okay, dapat tanggapin. Okay, so yun ang pinagkaiba ng unsealed and unmarked versus improperly sealed and improperly marked. So let's stop at this point, pause for a while, and pause for a brief knowledge check to check your knowledge and understanding that you have gained at this point of the lecture.
That's right. Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. But before we flash our second knowledge check question, just a gentle reminder to our Zoom participants, please follow the correct Zoom name format. And that is, again, your MLGU name underscore your full name for us to properly recognize you during the course of our program. So for our second knowledge check question, kindly answer ko again in the pop-up poll that shall be flashed in our screens. And the question is, improperly sealed and marked bid envelopes, provided that the bidder or its duly authorized representative shall acknowledge such condition of the bid as submitted. Is it true or false? Again, the question is, improperly sealed and marked bid envelopes shall be accepted provided that the bidder or its duly authorized representative shall acknowledge such condition of the bid as submitted. Is this true or false? For our Facebook Live comments, for our Facebook Live and YouTube viewers, kindly let us know your answer through, of course, our comment section. Ayan, I'm seeing Ma'am Tin answered true. I'm seeing more true. Ayan. Thank you very much po for our official Zoom participants. I'm hoping to have 100% participation po today. So currently, we have 72% participation. More true answers in our comment section. Thank you very much po. All right, so I'm closing our Zoom poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can we have the results, please? All right, Yusek Chan, 68% of our participants answered true, while 32% answered false.
Yes, no, tama ang answer. Hello, can you hear me? Okay naman. Yes, tamang answer, no, true. As emphasized a while ago, there is a distinction between unsealed and unmarked bids versus improperly sealed and improperly marked bids. So tama rin nakalagay sa question, no? Improperly sealed and improperly marked bids may be accepted, pero subject to, dapat yung nakalagay doon sa question, may acknowledgement doon sa bidder na yung bid na sinabit nila are improperly marked and improperly sealed. Para later on, pag nagkaroon ng issue, may nawala, may nahugot or whatever dyan, sagot ni bidder yun na ang sinabit nila is improperly marked and improperly sealed.
Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. Again, the correct answer is letter A, true. All right, let us now proceed to the lecture discussion. Back to you, Yusek.
To the next part of the lecture. So submission, di ba? So nagawa mo na yung bid mo, now let's go to the submission. Ano yung laman? No? Pag-usapan natin yung mga nilalaman ng bids, no? So ito yung deadline. Very important, yung deadline. Okay? Date of submission should not be later than the following periods from the last day of posting of the invitation to bid. Di ba? Invitation to bid signals the start of the procurement process. So the moment na publish ang invitation to bid, tumatakbo na yung metro. So kung hindi ka pa ready, wag mo muna i-publish yung invitation to bid dahil tumatakbo yung metro. At yung date of submission should not be later than the following period from the last day of posting of the invitation to bid. Okay? So yun ang counting. Very important. Otherwise, magkakaproblema, magrereklamo yung bidders kasi hindi natin sinunod yung standard or yung minimum requirement ng number of days. So date of submission is 45 days. for goods. No? Infra, again, 50 or 65 days. And then for consulting, 75 days. For bids submitted electronically, the procuring entity shall generate a bid receipt page for the official time of the submission, which can be saved or printed by the bidder upon receipt of the first and second envelope. Okay? As I said a while ago, dapat may bid receipt page. Dapat meron tipong makakatanggap sila ng email or text for that matter na nakapasok yung bid nila. Okay? So, yun ang number of days. Modification and withdrawal. Pag nag-submit ka ng bid under 9184, pwede mo siyang i-modify. Pwede mo rin siyang i-withdraw. No, i-modify, kunyari, meron kang nakalimutan, meron kang balak na baguhin, pwede mo siyang i-modify. Pwede mo siyang i-modify before the deadline of the submission of bids. Okay? The bidder should not be allowed to retrieve its original bid. No, magsasabit ka ng panibagong envelope na nakalagay doon, modification. Submit new bid, equally sealed, properly identified, linked to its original bid and marked as modification. Okay? So magsasubmit ka ng panibagong bid, nakalagay modification. Yun yung modified kasi may binago ka sa loob. Or you can also withdraw. If you decide na hindi ka nasasali sa bidding, you can withdraw. The letter of withdrawal must be received prior to the deadline for submission and receipt of bids. You have to withdraw before. Hindi yung pagkatapos na open yung bid mo, saka ka mag-withdraw. Okay? For bids withdrawn within the interval between the deadline and expiration of bid validity, the bid security should be forfeited. Kung nag-withdraw ka in the middle of the process, after the deadline, your bid security will be forfeited. Paano pag electronic? Pag electronic naman, ganun din. No? Pwede ka dapat mag-submit ng new bid na nakalagay modification. So dapat yung sistema kaya ng ganun, makatanggap ng modification ng bid. Okay? The time indicated in the latest bid receipt page generated shall be the official time of submission. Okay, so ganun ang modification of bids for online or electronic submission of bids. Okay. So, dito na tayo sa opening. Nag-submit ka ng bid, bubuksan na natin siya. So the bank shall open the bids in public immediately after the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. So immediately. So kanyari ang submission natin ng bids is August 10, 9 o'clock. Okay, deadline. Ang opening ay nakaschedule rin ng August 10, let's say 9:30. Ganon. Okay, so yung mga bidders, hindi na sila uuwi. Pag submit nila ng bid on the deadline, ay andyan na yung back magko-convene at bubuksan na yung bid. Okay? So ano yung process? You open the first envelope. Presence or absence lang ang pinag-uusapan natin. Okay? Meron or wala. Depending on the checklist. So meron bang GIS? Meron bang articles of incorporation? Meron bang mayor's permit? Etc. Kung wala, disqualified. Okay? Based on the checklist, disqualified. Kung kulang. Kasi ginagamit natin dyan ay non-discretionary pass-fail criterion. Non-discretionary. So presence or absence lang. Meron or wala. Okay? Pagkatapos, daan na natin yung checklist. Pag kompleto, okay, fine. Kompleto siya, good. And then we open first of all the first envelope. Checklist, diba? Daan na natin siya. Kung good, fine, good. Pasado sa first envelope, kung bagsak, di bagsak. No? Bagsak na yung first envelope niya, wala na. Pag pumasa siya sa first envelope, then you open the second envelope. Okay? That's only the second envelope of bidders whose first envelope was rated passed shall be open. Bubuksan natin siya. And then pagkatapos, i-rank na natin siya. Only bidders whose first and second envelope. Kasi second envelope, titingnan rin natin kung kumpleto yung laman sa loob. Yung second envelope kasi hindi lang siya basta price. Meron rin, pag-usapan natin mamaya yung documents na naka-attach doon sa loob ng second envelope kung kumpleto. Kung hindi, failed din yun, bagsak yun. Kung kumpleto, then it will be passed. No? Only bidders whose first and second envelopes were rated passed will be ranked as red. As red. So, rank mo siya. Lowest, and then rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5. Yun ang i-rank mo siya. Okay. So, assuming you're going to do it online or electronic, passwords shall be disclosed by the bidders only during the actual bid opening. Only during the actual bid opening. In case of postponement, diba, we said a while ago, the opening should be immediately after the submission. Okay, but in case the submitted bids cannot be opened as scheduled due to justifiable reasons, let's say bigla nagkaroon ng bagyo, nag-declare ng half day, nagkaroon ng lindol, or what, nagkaroon ng lockdown, the bank shall take custody of the bid. and reschedule the opening on the next working day or at the soonest possible time. Okay, at the next working day or at the soonest possible time, and post in the PhilJEP's website and the website of the procuring entity yung notice of postponement ng opening. Okay. Nandito na tayo sa opening and evaluation. Opening and evaluation. Kanina in-open lang, ngayon evaluate natin. So dito sa technical component, envelope number 1, may dalawang klaseng documents sa envelope number 1, right? The eligibility requirement and the technical requirement. So dito sa eligibility, meron siyang legal, technical, and financial document, class A, and then class B, joint venture agreement. And then sa envelope number 1 din, yung technical requirement ng bid security, project requirement, and omnibus sworn statement. So iisa-isahin natin siya. Okay, dito sa envelope, ito envelope number 1. So eligibility requirement or the class A documents. Ano yung kasama dito sa envelope number 1? So class A legal document. Class A legal document. Ayan. PhilJEP's Certificate of Registration Platinum, or kung wala, ilalagay mo dapat dyan ang SEC, Mayor's Permit, Tax Clearance, Audited Financial Statement. Class A technical document, statement of all ongoing contracts, statement of single largest completed contract, valid pickup license or pickup license for JVA, statement of the consultant specifying its nationality for consulting contracts or consultancy services. Class A financial documents, net financial contracting capacity or credit line certificate for goods. And then class B documents, joint venture agreement. Okay, so yan ang, tingnan natin, yan ang nilalaman ng first envelope eligibility requirement. Diba? In the first envelope, dalawang klaseng documents, eligibility and technical. Dito sa eligibility, merong class A technical, class A legal, class A financial, and class B document. So marami. So, isayin natin yung mga dokumentong yon. No? Let's say Mayor's Permit. Ina-allow natin ang recently expired Mayor's Permit together with the OR. Okay? Together with the OR. Pinapayagan natin siya. Provided na during post-qual, assuming siya yung isa subject to post-qualification, ay makapag-submit na siya ng actual renewed Mayor's Permit. Okay? But during opening, okay na ang expired Mayor's Permit with OR of the renewal. Okay. How about tax clearance? Iba yung rule pagdating sa tax clearance. Okay? The submission of BIR receipt for renewal of tax clearance will not suffice in lieu of a valid tax clearance requirement. Okay? So hindi pwede ang receipt lang. Unlike Mayor's Permit na pwede yung OR lang. Submission of provisionary tax clearance issued by the BIR for bidding purposes is not acceptable. It's not an acceptable form. It's not an acceptable form of tax clearance. Now we go to the technical eligibility requirement. Now, class A, technical eligibility requirement. So statement of all ongoing government and private contracts. You have to disclose all ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract to be bid. The statement shall include all information required in the bidding document. So all ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts not yet started, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract to be bid. Okay. The statement shall include all information required in the bidding documents. So ito yung all statement of all contracts, all government contracts. Okay. SLCC, single largest completed contract. Okay. Kung goods, depende pa siya kung goods or infra. No, kung goods, ang single largest completed contract mo ay depende sa if it's non-expandable goods or expandable goods. Okay. Pag non-expandable goods, 50% of the ABC dapat ang SLCC mo. Pag expendable goods, 25% of the ABC ang iyong single largest completed contract. Okay. Exception. May exception siya. As a general rule, yung rule, 50% or 25% of the ABC depending on anong klaseng goods. Expendable or non-expendable. Exception. Okay. If at the onset and after market research, applying the general rule will likely result to failure of bidding or monopoly. In case, if we strictly apply the 25% or 50% of the ABC requirement, ay walang makakapag-comply or isa lang ang makakomply to result in monopoly, isa lang, dahil siya lang yung ganon, then we could make an exception. We could require at least 2 similar contracts, the aggregate amount at least equivalent to the required percentages, and the largest of the similar contract amount to at least 50% of the required percentage. May exception. No? Kung para maiwasan tong scenario na mag-fail yung bidding kasi walang magko-comply or isa lang yung magko-comply, magkakaroon ng monopoly kasi siya lang yung may ganong klaseng qualification. So, pwede natin i-apply yung exception para siya nangyari. Diba? So, ganito. No? Example, for expendable goods, alam natin 24% of the ABC. For non-expendable goods, 50% of the ABC. So, let's look at the expendable goods first. No? So, under the general rule, 25% of the ABC. So, ibig sabihin, 250,000 dapat ang kanyang SLCC. Eh, what if si bidder wala siyang 250,000 na SLCC pwedeng i-present? So, pwede natin gawin yung exception. No? So, in this case, kunyari, si bidder, meron siyang one contract na 100,000 and another contract na 200,000. So, walang 250,000 dyan. Pero, yung larger of the two is at least equivalent to 50%. 50% nung 250,000. Okay? 50% of the 250,000 is 125,000. So, pasok siya kasi meron siyang 200,000. Diba? The aggregate of the two is equivalent. Pag 200, so number one requirement, no, yung 50% ay 125,000. So, pasok siya kasi may 200,000 siya. And if you add up the two, 200 and 100 is 300. Diba? The aggregate is at least equal to the required percentages. 250 lang yung kailangan natin. But 200 plus 100 is 300. Right? So, same here in non-expendable. So, under the rule, 50% of 1 million, dapat 500,000. Pero si bidder, ang meron siya is 300 and 400. So, hindi siya pasok. But since we apply the exception, 50% of 500,000 is 250,000. So, pasok siya. Meron siyang 300,000 and 400,000. And if you add the two, 300 and 400, 700. So, above or yung 500,000 requirement. So, yun. We apply the exception. No, para hindi magkaroon ng failure of bidding or para hindi magkaroon ng monopoly. Pagdating sa presentation ng SLCC, single largest completed contract. Okay. Pero pag infra, okay, pag infra is, sorry, ayan. For infra, the SLCC completed should be similar to the contract to be bid or the same major categories of work. The SLCC's value should at least be 50% of the ABC. Ito, ganun lang siya, 50% of the ABC. Okay? Wala siyang 25 and 50. 50% of the ABC to be bid upon adjustment to current prices using the PSA consumer price indices. Okay? Contracts under small a and small b categories without similar experience on the contract may participate if the cost of the contract to be bid is not more than the allowable range of contract cost of the registration. Okay? Pasok siya doon sa ARCC kahit small a or small b siya. If the cost of the contract is not more than the ARCC of the registration. Yung rule for pickup license, kailangan meron kang valid pickup license or special pickup license in cases of joint venture. Registration for the type and cost of the contract to be bid should be valid at the time of the deadline for the submission and opening of the bids. Yung rule for pickup license, kailangan pickup license ang isasubmit, hindi pwede ang temporary pickup license. Pickup license is the license issued by the pickup, allowing an entity to engage in business as a contractor. Okay? Ang turnaround time ng pickup sa pag-issue ng kanilang license is only 20 days. So parang sinasabi dito, wala kang excuse na hindi makapag-produce ng pickup license kasi 20 days ang kanilang processing time. Ang temporary pickup license ay hindi pinapayagan. Non-acceptability of temporary pickup license. What is a temporary pickup license? It refers to the document issued by the pickup to a contractor who has filed a for renewal of the pickup license before the 30th day of June, but have not yet been processed due to high volume of applicants. So hindi pwede ang temporary applicants. Now let's go to the financial. Class A financial documents. Class A financial documents is the audited financial statement, showing among others the bidder's total and current asset and liability stock received by the BIR. AFS for the preceding calendar year, which should not be earlier than 2 years from the date of submission. So kailangan mag-submit ng audited financial statement bilang Class A financial document. Kasama sa Class A financial document ang computation ng NFCC. Computation ng NFCC. Okay, so pag NFCC, kailangan equivalent ka sa ABC. Okay, so may formula ang pag-compute ng NFCC. The NFCC should be at least equal to the ABC. May formula siya. So current asset minus current liability multiplied by number 15, multiplied by 15, K factor of 15, and then minus the value of all outstanding or uncompleted portion of the project under ongoing contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, coinciding with the contract to be bid. Okay? So NFCC siya. So ang suma total nito ay kailangan equivalent to the ABC. Pag goods naman, either magpakita ka ng NFCC or credit line certificate. Kung hindi pasok yung NFCC mo sa ABC, pwede ang credit line certificate for goods, but for infra hindi. Now let's go to Class B document. Class envelope number 1, Class B document. Requirement for joint venture. So kailangan meron kang joint venture agreement. In case may joint venture, okay, yung both parties should submit the legal eligibility documents. And then, pagdating sa technical and financial, any of the partners may submit. Hindi kailangan both of them. Pero pagdating sa legal document, kailangan both of them must submit the legal eligibility documents. Yung pinag-usapan natin kanina, mayor's permit, and ito ganyan. Okay. Technical is the SLCC, statement of all ongoing, and then financial is the NFCC and audited financial statement. So isa lang sa kanila pwede na, pero doon sa legal dapat dalawa sila mag-submit. And then second, first envelope, second of document is this one, no? Itong conformity with the schedule of requirements, technical specifications, ito yung kasama sa first envelope. Okay, first envelope, technical component ng first envelope. Ayan. Pag goods, pag infra naman ito, organizational chart for the contract to be bid, list of contractors, key personnel, list of contractors, major equipment. Pag infra, ito yung technical eligibility documents. Okay. Sa envelope naman. Pag consulting naman, ito yung technical eligibility documents. Yeah. Technical documents. Envelope number 1. Technical proposal submission form, bid security, consultant's references, comments and suggestion of the consultant, the TOR, methodology and work plan. Okay. Composition and task, CV for proposed professional staff, time schedule for professional personnel, activity or work schedule, omnibus form statement. So these are the things na dapat ilagay, sa technical eligibility requirement. Envelope number 1 pa rin. Bukod dun sa Class A documents and Class B documents. Bid security, para saan ang bid security? To guarantee that the successful bidder shall enter into the contract with the procurer entity and furnish the performance security. So basically, ang purpose ng bid security is for you not to back out. So si winning bidder, hindi siya mag-back out pag siya yung i-declare ng winning bidder. Pag back out siya, then ma-forfeit ang kanyang bid security. So iba't ibang klaseng form ng bid security, pwede siyang cash or manager's check, bank guarantee, 2% of the ABC, or surety bond, 5% of the ABC, or bid securing declaration. Bid securing declaration. ito yung itsura ng bid securing declaration. Nakalagay din, may template tayo dyan, at nakalagay dyan kung ano yung dapat na wording nakalagay sa bid securing declaration. Kung mali yung wording mo sa bid securing declaration, pwede kang ma-disqualify kasi incomplete siya. Diba? So may provisions, as I said, dapat i-follow, comply yung required na provision. Okay? It's a document undertaking signed by the bidder committing to pay the corresponding fine and be automatically disqualified from bidding of any procurement contract of a PE for a period of time upon receipt of the blacklisting order. Okay? Revised penalty, disqualification for 2 years from bidding for any procurement contract with any procuring entity upon receipt of the blacklisting order. So as I said, ang importante lang dito ay yung bid security, meron siyang template, meron siyang format na kailangan sundin. You have to follow that format. Next, OSS, Omnibus Sworn Statement. Again, itong Omnibus Sworn Statement may format din. No, kailangan kompleto yung nakalagay doon sa OSS. Kung hindi, madi-disqualify. No, kasi hindi valid yung kanyang Omnibus Sworn Statement. So ito yung listahan ng mga kailangan nakalagay sa Omnibus Sworn Statement. Itong naka-red, ito yung mga later on na na-amend. Under GPPB Resolution 16-2020, ito yung mga dinagdag na mga provision sa Omnibus Sworn Statement. Non-inclusion in the blacklist, in case advance payment was made or given, failure to perform or deliver any of the obligations and undertakings in the contract shall be sufficient grounds to constitute criminal liability. Okay, so Omnibus Sworn Statement. As I said, may template niyan, we have to follow the template. In case we're gonna do online or electronic submission of bids, so the scanned copy of the first envelope with the required form shall be considered as compliant with the requirement of bid submission. So scanned copies, kasi nga electronic, so everything is electronic, right? Everything is scanned, everything is soft copy. Subject to the submission of the following original documents during post-qualification. Okay, so during post-qualification, you have to submit bid security and Omnibus Sworn Statement during post-qualification. Okay? The original, of course, scanned copy should be included in the first envelope. Okay? Non-submission of this form shall be ground for post-disqualification. So at this point, let us pause for a brief knowledge check and evaluate your knowledge up until this point of the lecture.
Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. Now for our third knowledge check question, please drop your answer through the Zoom chat box because we will again be giving a special token to the first participant who shall correctly answer the question. So again, for you to qualify as our knowledge check winner, you need to be the first to answer the question correctly. You have to have the correct Zoom name format, and kailangan hindi pa po kayo nananalo in our previous learning sessions. Alright? So for our third knowledge check question, the question is, procuring entities cannot add another requirement to nor delete any requirement from the identified list of eligibility requirements. Is this true or false? Again, please answer this question through our Zoom chat box. Ayan. Yung iba po, nag-iisip pa po yata, Yusek. I'm also seeing answers in our comment section. Thank you very much for joining our knowledge check portion. Alright, sige po, Yusek. Let us know po muna kung ano po yung correct answer for this question. Then we'll see kung nanalo na po si Miss Shine. Hold on, let me just unmute you, Yusek.
So the correct answer is true, no? You do not add any of the requirements. We do not add additional documents doon sa naka-list ng prescribed documents for the eligibility requirement.
Thank you very much, Yusek. So the correct answer po for our third knowledge check question is true. And from what is registered po in my Zoom chat box, the first to type in her answer is Miss Shaina Munar from LGU San Mateo, Rizal. And based on my list. You are qualified po to be our knowledge check winner. So congratulations po, Miss Shaina Munar from LGU San Mateo, Rizal. Thank you very much po, ma'am. And again, please check your chat box po, ma'am, after this and kindly provide the details requested by our event secretariat. All right, so quick reminder po again, if you have questions, please drop them in through our Zoom chat box or comment section as our resource speaker shall address all related questions during our open forum. All right, so let us now proceed with our discussion proper. Back to you, Yusek.
According to GPPB Resolution number 9-2020, pinayagan to mga alternative documentary requirement during a state of calamity or community quarantine or similar restrictions. Okay, so the procuring entity shall accept alternate documentary requirements in case of under two circumstances. No, one is there is a state of calamity, or two, community quarantine or similar restrictions. Let's say nagkaroon ng localized lockdown or something, or nagkaroon ng state of calamity, nagkaroon ng bagyo or nito in your area, and nagkaroon ng declaration of state of calamity, then we are allowed to accept these alternative documentary requirements. Number one, since naka-lockdown or since may state of calamity, so walang notaryo. So we could accept unnotarized bid securing declaration. Okay. We can also accept expired mayor's permit with the official receipt upon a renewal of the application. Pero we have to submit the actual mayor's permit after the award, but before the payment of the contract. Also, unnotarized omnibus sworn statement. Okay? Subject to compliance therewith after award of the contract, but before payment. Yun. So, unauthorized omnibus sworn statement. Opening. Goods. Dito sa envelope number 2. Punta ngayon tayo sa envelope number 2. Ang financial component. Okay? So, pagdating sa goods and services, ano yung laman sa envelope number 2? Andyan ang bid form. Andyan ang applicable price schedule for goods from abroad or within the Philippines. And certification from DTI if claiming preference as a domestic bidder in case merong foreign component merong foreign bidders sa bidding. Okay? So, financial component. And ito yung laman ng envelope number 2. Pag infrastructure project naman, ano yung laman ng envelope number 2 for infra? Andyan ang financial bid form. Bid prices in the bill of quantities. So, you have to submit the BOQ and then yung mga prices mo, naka-breakdown siya doon. Detailed estimates and then cash flow by quarter. So, yun yung mga kailangan ilagay sa envelope number 2 ng infra. Consulting services. Ano laman ng envelope number 2 ng consulting services? Financial proposal, submission form, summary of cost, breakdown of price per activity, breakdown of remuneration, reimbursables. Okay, so ito yung laman ng envelope number 2 ng infra. Ng consulting, sorry. So as I said, no, yung envelope number 2, hindi mo lang siya basta ilalagay yung price doon. May list of documents din. So kung kulang ito, madi-disqualify ka. Mag-fail yung second envelope mo, madi-disqualify. Okay? Kasi hindi kompleto yung mga attachments. Miscellaneous expenses also. Now, pagkatapos natin i-open, we go now to the next step, which is a detailed evaluation. A detailed evaluation. So kanina kasi pass-fail, presence or absence lang. Dinaanan lang natin sa checklist kung meron or wala. Ngayon, i-detailed examination na natin siya. Hihimay-himayin na natin yung laman sa loob ng envelope to determine the lowest calculated bid or the highest rated bid by establishing correct calculated price of the bid and ranking calculated total bid price from lowest to highest. Ko-compute natin, i-recalculate natin yung mga figures na nakalagay sa second envelope kung tama yung total, kung tugma doon sa actual bid nila or may discrepancy. So, i-recalculate natin. So, detailed evaluation of bids. A non-discretionary criteria shall be used, which shall include consideration of completeness of the bid and minor arithmetical corrections. The result should be contained in the abstract of the bids. The detailed evaluation of bid should be completed within 7 days from the deadline of receipt of proposal. Okay? So within 7 days, matapos natin itong detailed evaluation of bids. Okay, so discrepancy. Let's say, you know, we went through the bid and then there's discrepancy. How do we resolve the discrepancy? No, so nakalagay dito, naka-circle yung naka-circle dito yung ating susundin. So let's say yung bid price in figures versus bid price in words, the words will prevail. Total price per item versus unit price of the item times the quantity will prevail. Stated total price versus actual sum of prices of the component items. So yung nasusunod is the actual sum of the price of the component items. Unit cost in the detailed estimate versus unit cost in the bill of quantities. So yung bill of quantities yung masusunod. Okay. We have the no contact rule, no prohibition on communication with bidders from bid evaluation until the award of the contract. So no contact policy. No, so the bidders and the back, should not communicate, should not contact. Everything should be coursed through the back secretariat. So pag-usapan na nabanggit natin kanina itong domestic preference. How does this domestic preference work? So meron kang domestic bidder and meron kang foreign bidder. Nakalagay sa domestic preference ay applies where the lowest bid has a foreign component and the next lowest bid has a domestic component. So the lowest bidder is the foreign bidder. Tapos yung next in rank niya is a local, is a Filipino bidder. Okay? So ang gagawin natin to apply the rule on domestic preference is i-increase natin si foreign bidder by 15%. Okay? And then the lowest domestic bidder will match the bid, matches the lowest bid of the foreign bidder kung willing siya mag-match. So let's see here the example. Yan. Si foreign bidder ang bid niya 2.6 million. Si domestic bidder ang bid niya 3 billion. So si lowest bidder, si foreign. Si foreign ang lowest bidder kasi 2.6. Yung next lowest bidder mo si Filipino which is 3. So ang gagawin natin, i-increase natin, i-inflate natin by 15% yung bid ni lowest bidder, ni foreign bidder. So magiging 3.05 million siya. So ibig sabihin, lowest bidder na ngayon si Filipino, 3.009 million. Diba? Versus yung bid ni foreign which is 3.05 million. Okay? Now, si domestic bidder, tatanungin natin siya kung willing siyang i-match yung bid na 2.653 billion. So kung willing si Filipino bidder na tanggapin, given na siya na ngayon ang lowest bid, syempre dapat siya muna yung lowest bid which is 3.009 versus 3.051. Okay? Now, tatanungin natin si Filipino bidder kung willing siyang tanggapin yung bid na 2.653. Diba? Award to the domestic bidder at 2.653. Or kung ayaw tanggapin din, si foreign bidder yung manatalo. If the domestic bidder, award to the foreign bidder if the domestic bidder refuses. Okay. Consulting. Opening and evaluation of the consulting proposal. So, nag-shortlisting, remember, in consulting services, may shortlisting siya. So, andito na tayo sa opening ng bid niya. So, period for receipt of bid should be 75 calendar days from the last day of posting of the request for expression of interest. Preliminary examination using the non-discretionary pass-fail criteria shall be conducted before the detailed evaluation of the bids. So, nabanggit ko kanina, di ba? Pagdating sa consulting, pero merong yung method na kasama si cost, meron yung method na hindi kasama si cost. Di ba? Kung hindi kasama si cost, yung quality-based evaluation, purely based on yung niya. Based on yung proposal, qualification, experience, hindi factor yung cost. Or yung pangalawa is quality cost-based evaluation, QCBE. Kasama si cost doon sa pag-evaluate ng kanyang bid. Okay? So the entire evaluation process from proposal opening to submission of bid results to the HOPE should not exceed 21 calendar days. Okay? So QBE or QCBE. Okay? Ang ginagamit si QBE, highly complex or highly specialized assignments for which it is difficult to precisely define the TOR and require inputs from the consultant, where the assignments can be carried out in substantially different ways, such that the proposals are not comparable. Diba? So you only consider the technical proposal and ranking. So quality-based, let's say nagpa-design ka ng airport. So pagandahan ng design. So it's pure quality-based. No? Yung cost magkakaiba eh. Hindi mo talaga masukat yung cost eh. Pero magde-design ka ng airport. So kanya-kanyang concept, kanya-kanyang design. So yung costing iba. So you will judge the proposal based on the quality lang. Quality ng kanyang pag-design ng airport. Ano yung pinakamagandang design ng airport. Diba? Hindi mo i-regard yung cost kasi magkaiba yung cost ng dalawa. Okay, in all other cases, wherein medyo pareho naman siya, ipapasok mo yung cost. Kasi masusuka pa, medyo pareho naman siya. Diba? Yung consulting, pareho naman yung, let's say, mag-design ng website, for instance. Mag-design ng website. So, halos pareho naman. So, yung cost will be a factor. Diba? How many ways can you design a website? Diba? Yung cost niya will be more or less standard versus, let's say, you're gonna design an airport. Diba? So, in QCBE, you consider both the technical and financial proposals in the ranking. Tignan natin paano siya mag-work. So, for QBE, yung quality base. So, magsabit sila ng financial and technical and financial, yung i-open mo lang ay ang technical. Diba? Open mo lang ang technical. Yung technical envelope, open mo lang. Then, evaluate mo yung technical proposal niya. I-recommend mo to the who, back recommend the approval of the highest rated bid based on the technical. Kasi wala i-disregard mo yung financial i-award mo siya based on yung ano lang based on technical lang So wala kang pakialam kung gaano siya kamahal o gaano siya kamura. And then i-approve ni Hope yung recommendation. And then saka mo i-open yung financial. And then negotiation. So ito yung process flow for QBE, right? Sa dulo mo i-open yung financial kasi wala kang pakialam kung gaano siya kamahal. Right? Doon mo na ini-negotiate later on yung presyo. Kung sakaling hihingi ka ng discount or what, doon na. Pero na-determine mo na kung sino yung highest rated bidder mo based purely on the technical proposal. QCBE naman, kung kasama si cost, you open the technical proposal and open the, yung mga papasa ng technical, you open the financial. Para siya yung bidding ng goods and infra. Right? Open the technical, open envelope 1, and then open envelope 2. No? Para doon sa mga pumasa ng envelope 1. And then sabay mo siyang i-evaluate kasama si cost. Kasama yung cost evaluation. And then you approve, and then after you approve, you negotiate. So kasama sa evaluation, yung financial. Yun ang yung pinagkaiba niya. Dalawang klase ng pag-i-evaluate. How do you evaluate consulting services? Pwede ka mag-individual evaluation. May score sheet yung kada back member. Para siyang, as I said, parang beauty pageant, mag-i-score sila. Each back member is assigned a numerical score to a proposal ranging from 1 to 100, with 100 as the highest value. The ratings are tabulated from lowest to highest for each consultant for each criterion. The highest and lowest scores for each consultant for each criterion are disregarded to help eliminate bias. Tatanggalin mo sa highest and lowest score. Either that, in individual evaluation or collegial evaluation. Mag-uusap-usap sila as a group and then i-rate nila as a group yung mga leaders. So wala nang individual scoring. Okay? The bidder should be furnished the results, the rankings, and total scores after the evaluation is approved by the results are also posted in the field JEPs and website of the procuring entity. Sample of the evaluation process. Ayan. Individual ano siya. So limang firm yung naglalaban. So 5 yung let's say back members, so may mga scores. Or not really back members, pwede TWG members. So may score. So bigyan mo sila ng score, may average rank 1, 3, 2, 5, 4. And then the rules say we have to delete or disregard. Yan. We have to disregard or delete or remove the highest and the lowest score. So remove the highest and the lowest score na binigay to eliminate bias, and then i-average mo siya, and then i-rank mo siya. So yun yung evaluation na ginagawa natin for consulting. Ganito. Okay? Ano yung evaluation criteria? Kanina was evaluation criteria for shortlisting. Ito is evaluation criteria for the mismong yung submission nila. Right? So quality of personnel, 30 to 70%. Flexible naman. Experience and capability, 10 to 30%. Plan of approach and methodology, 20 to 40%. Pagandahan ng airport, pagandahan ng design. Sinabi ko kanina, experience and quality personnel. Oral presentation may be required for complex or unique undertakings. Kung medyo komplikado yung pwede ka mag-request ng presentation wherein the consultant, the candidates will present to you, explain to you ano ba yung concept nila. QCBE. Remember, in QCBE, kasama sa evaluation yung cost. Unlike in QBE na purely on on quality lang. So the BAC computes the ratings of each financial proposal in the following manner. Yung lowest na financial proposal, bibigyan ng perfect score, 100%. And then the other financial proposals are scored using the following formula. Kung follow doon sa pro rata scoring. So SF equals 100 times FI over F. No? So the financial score na makukuha ng bidder is equal to the lowest financial proposal, 100 times the lowest financial proposal over the financial proposal under consideration. Example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, si firm 2 ang lowest na cost na binigay because 1 million yung bid niya. Okay, 1 million yung bid ni firm 2. Tapos yung iba 1.1, 1.5, 1.3, 1.2. So since 1 million lowest si firm 2, bibigyan natin ng 100%, 100 points si firm 2. 100 points. Diba? So 100 points siya. Tapos si firm 1, so yun, nakikita mo 100 times 1 million yung bid ni firm 2 over 1.1 yung bid niya. So yun ang score niya, 90.9. And then firm 3, 100 times yung 1 million sa numerator over 1.5 yung bid niya, 66.7. Firm 4, 1 million over 1.3 yung bid niya, 76.9. And then firm 5, 1 million over 1.2 million yung bid niya, so 83%. So ganun siya. So makikita mo gumagalaw habang tumataas yung bid niya, bumababa yung score niya. Like in this case, 1.5 million yung bid ni firm 3, siya yung lowest, 66.7 points ang nakuha niya. Ganun siya. How to compute? So yung score niya doon sa technical proposal plus the times the weight, no? Plus yung score niya doon sa financial proposal, doon niya makukuha. Well, like in this case, an example, kunyari, ang technical proposal is 70%, financial proposal 30%, 70-30, so times 84.2 and yung sa 100, so total aggregate score is 88.94%. Okay, kung 70-30, depending on the weights that we give, no? Like in this example, 70% yung weight in technical and 30% yung weight in financial. Okay, so as I said, yung QCBE, si cost may component siya. In this case, 30% yung kanyang weight doon sa overall evaluation. So ganun mo siya i-rate, 88.94 yung score ni firm 2. Okay, so that's how we do it. Negotiation with the highest rated bid. So as I said, may extra step si consulting services, meron siyang negotiation. So we negotiate with the highest rated bid. Negotiation with any one consultant shall be completed within 10 days. You didn't negotiate yung mga deliverables niya, you negotiate even about the price, everything you want to negotiate, no? Para the government will be able to get a better deal, no, from the project. Now, pag meron ng nanalo, meron ng na-recommend na winning bidder, isasalang na siya sa post-qual. Okay? Post-qual. Meron nang na-determine na lowest calculated bid. Hindi pa siya winning bidder, lowest calculated bid. Siya yung lowest na bid. Na dinaanan natin, dumaan na siya sa detailed evaluation of bid, siya yung lowest. So it will determine whether the lowest calculated bid or the highest rated bid for consulting, kasi highest rated bid, complies with and is responsive to all the requirements and conditions as specified in the bidding documents. Pag nakalusot na siya sa post-qual, siya ngayon ay tatawagin na lowest calculated and responsive bid. Lowest calculated and responsive bid or highest rated and responsive bid. Okay. So, ang post-qual is a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion used to, ang purpose ng post-qual is to verify, validate, and ascertain all statements and documents submitted by the lowest calculated bid or the highest rated bid. Okay. Verified. So, dadaanan mo siya ulit. Lahat ng mga documents, lahat ng mga sinulat niya doon, sasalain mo siya ulit. Titingnan mo kung totoo yun, kung valid yun, kung accurate yun, kung may problema, kung mayroong misrepresentation doon. Of course, kung may misrepresentation, kung hindi siya valid, or may missing pa rin na document, then he will be post-disqualified. Post-disqualified. So, under the rules, the post-qualification should be completed within 12 days, within 12 calendar days. Maximum in case, no? In exceptional cases, by default 12 days. But in exceptional cases, pwede siyang ma-extend until 45 days, subject to approval by the HOOP for goods and infra. And for consulting, pwede mo siya i-stretch until 30 days upon approval by the HOOP. Yung post-qual. Let's say, kailangan mag-travel, kailangan pumunta sa probinsya, kailangan pumunta abroad to do the post-qual kasi nasa abroad yung partner or opisina or factory, then we can extend, no? Instead of 12 days, ang maximum mo niyan ay 45 days for goods and infra and 30 days for consulting. So ayan na, 20 days, 45 days in exceptional cases of an approval of the WHO. No? In case of post-disqualification, let's say na post-disqualify, then another 12 days, another 45 days ang ibibigay sa back para mag-postpone nung yung next candidate, yung next in line, next bidder. No? Ganun siya. The back shall notify the bidder with the lowest calculated bid that siya yung isasalang sa post-qualification. At pag na-notify na siya na isasalang siya sa post-qual, so during post-qual, ito yung mga pahabol na documents na kailangan niya i-submit during post-qual. Latest income and business tax return, other appropriate licenses and permits required by law and stated in the bidding documents. So other documents na ni-require mo dun sa bidding documents na during post-qual submit, and latest income and business tax return. So if he didn't submit this post-qual requirements, then madi-disqualify siya. Diba? Or should, let's say, during post-qual na-discover na mayroong mga falsified documents or may mga inaccurate or false statement during dun sa kanyang bid, yung kanyang bid security ay ma-forfeit yung kanyang bid security. And of course, ma-disqualify siya. How about foreign bidders? SEC guidelines for foreign bidders. Within 10 days from receipt by the winning bidder of the notice of award, si foreign bidder ay kailangan kumuha ng SEC, the foreign corporation or consulting firm, and or the authority or license from the appropriate government agency or professional regulatory body. Okay, where applicable. So kailangan niya magpa-register sa SEC kung siya ay nanalo. Upon receipt of the notice of award, that's the time mag-register siya sa SEC. Certificate of registration of the foreign corporation. You go to award. I-award. Tapos na yung post-qual, i-award na siya. The BAC shall recommend the award to the lowest calculated responsive bid or highest rated responsive bid at the submitted price or the calculated price, whichever is lower. Yung prices sinulat niya sa envelope 2 or nung nagkaroon na recalculation, ibang figure yung lumabas, alin doon sa mas mababa doon sa dalawa. Yun yung magiging basis mo for the award of the contract. Okay. The BAC shall notify all other bidders in writing of its recommendation to the award to contract to the LCRB or HRRB within 3 calendar days from issuance of the resolution recommending the award. So yung mga lahat ng mga ibang bidders ay kailangan din man-notify kung sino yung nanalo. Okay, dapat malaman nila kung sino yung nanalo. Okay. Within 15 days, the HOPE shall now approve or disapprove the recommendation ng BAC. Diba? Kasi the BAC, we only recommend kung kanino i-award. The HOPE has 15 days to award or not award, approve or disapprove yung recommendation ng BAC ng 15 days. Kasi pwede niyang hindi i-approve, no? Kahit na meron ng BAC resolution recommending the approval. Posting notice of award, kailangan i-post within 3 calendar days from the issuance of the NOA. Saan ipopost? Sa bulletin board, sa PhilJobs website, at sa website ng government agency. Okay, doon siya ipopost yung notice of award. Award of the contract is subject to the following conditions within 10 days. So after the award, within 10 days, kailangan mag-submit sila ng JVA, kung JV sila. In case of procurement by a Philippine Foreign Post or Post, PhilJobs registration number. If foreign funded and stated in the treaty, executive or national agreement, yung kanilang pick-up license. Also, yung po, kailangan i-ready na nila yung performance security. So a while ago, it was bid security to guarantee na hindi sila mag-back out. Ngayon is performance security to guarantee na tatapusin nila yung project. And then, afterwards, kailangan na ng signing. No, pipirmahan na yung contract. And then, approval by the higher authority kung kinakailangan. Yung binanggit ko kanina. No? Kung yung contract ay kailangan pa ng approval ng mas mataas. No? Kunyari, kailangan pang i-approve ng Office of the President or kailangan i-approve pa ng Board of Directors, yung mga ganon. Or kailangan pa i-approve sa mother agency, yung ganon. Kung in cases na kailangan pang i-approve ng higher authority yung contract. So, the whole period from invitation to bid until the award, until the should be completed within 3 months. The procurement process from opening of bids to award of the contract shall not exceed 3 months. Okay. So what happens if you exceed 3 months? In the case of Hakomil versus Abaya, the petitioner contends that the public failed to comply with the period prescribed by law, the 3-month period. The Supreme Court held that the different period provided in 9184, within which certain stages of the procurement process must be completed, is not merely directory, but mandatory. Thus, such irregularity rendered the procurement process null and void. Okay? So null and void if we don't comply with the maximum 3-month period from opening to the award. In case of reenacted budget, this is issued in December 28 in anticipation of reenacted in 2019, the guidelines are still applicable in any and future instances of a reenacted budget. So it is to clarify that agencies may award contract during the reenacted budget under certain instances. Hence, the procurement entity never have to wait for the new GEA to be enacted in case of a reenacted budget. Okay. For purposes of award of a contract under a reenacted budget, the 15-day period for the hope to approve and disapprove issue the notice of award in the 3-month period within which to complete the process shall be told. Hindi gumagalaw yung 3-month period, nag-stop yung period in cases of a reenacted budget. Period of the time for award and contract termination of procurement process shall begin and run again upon effectivity of the new GAA. Okay, but the validity of the bids, the bid security shall be extended at the option of the bidder to adjust to the new procurement timelines in case the period is told pending the enactment of the new GAA. Yan, performance security. A while ago is bid security. Ngayon is performance security. Performance security is to guarantee the performance of the obligation by the lowest calculated bid or the highest rated bid in such form and amount specified in the bidding documents. If you fail to submit your performance security, then you will be disqualified. You will be disqualified. The next in line shall be subjected to post-qualification. And your bid security shall also be forfeited if you didn't submit the performance security. So the form of the performance security, either cash, manager's check, for goods and consultancy 5%, infra 10% of the contract price. Pag surety bond naman, 30% of the contract price ang performance security. Papayagan ang performance security declaration during a time of state of calamity or community quarantine. Papayagan natin ang performance securing declaration. Katulad ng bid securing declaration. Okay? So ang performance securing declaration, meron din siyang format. Nakalagay dyan sa format kung ano yung dapat ang nilalaman ng performance securing declaration. Okay? So meron siyang template nakalagay that the winning bidder that it will automatically disqualify from bidding of any procurement contract of any procurement entity for a period of 1 year for the first offense or 2 years for the second offense upon receipt of the blacklisting order. An unauthorized performance securing declaration may be accepted subject to submission of a notarized performance securing declaration before payment. Of course, during the time of state of calamity or community quarantine. So yeah. Contract signing. So nag-award na, contract signing na. Okay? Nabanggit po in some cases, kailangan i-approve ng higher authority 20 days to approve or disapprove the contract. And then if there is a GOCC governing board, bibigyan natin ng 30 days to approve the contract. Kung kailangan pang i-akit yung contract for approval by higher authority. Kung hindi, di wala na ito. No, once assigned, tapos na. Kaya wala nang approval. Let's pause for a knowledge check at this point in our lecture.
Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. We are down to our 4th knowledge check question, and kindly answer na po again in the pop-up poll that shall be flashed in our screens. And the question is, where should procuring entities from the executive branch upload their advertisement and post-award information? Letter A, on PhilJeps. Letter B, on PhilJeps and social media platforms of the PE. Or letter C, PhilJeps official website and official social media platforms of the PE. Thank you very much for sharing our live streaming, you can also tag po your colleagues so they can also join us today. Ayan. Okay, see your answers po in the comment section for our Facebook and YouTube live viewers. I'm seeing C. Also po, announcement, if you would like to be part of the official list of participants, you may join us because registration is still open for our succeeding batches po. All you have to do is to register through the link that is posted by our Billy Bayong in the comments section. But for all of you who have stayed with us until today, we thank you all very much for joining us through our official Facebook and YouTube live streaming. All right. So I'm seeing 61% participation. I'm seeing all answers in the comment section, and the answer is letter C. All right. I'll be closing the Zoom call in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So Yusek Chan, we have 83% who answered letter C, while 17% who answered letter A.
Yes, that is correct, no? Letter C, yung answer. So, PhilJEP's website and social media account. Yun po yung latest na update.
All right. Thank you very much. Again po, the correct answer is letter C, PhilJEP's official website and social media platforms of the procuring entity. Right. So at this point, we may now proceed, I guess, to the final part of our lecture proper. Back to you, Yusek Chan.
According to GPPB Resolution number 9-2020, pinayagan to mga alternative documentary requirement during a state of calamity or community quarantine or similar restrictions. Okay, so the procuring entity shall accept alternate documentary requirements in case of under two circumstances. No, one is there is a state of calamity, or two, community quarantine or similar restrictions. Let's say nagkaroon ng localized lockdown or something, or nagkaroon ng state of calamity, nagkaroon ng bagyo or nito in your area, and nagkaroon ng declaration of state of calamity, then we are allowed to accept these alternative documentary requirements. Number one, since naka-lockdown or since may state of calamity, so walang notaryo. So we could accept unnotarized bid securing declaration. Okay. We can also accept expired mayor's permit with the official receipt upon a renewal of the application. Pero we have to submit the actual mayor's permit after the award, but before the payment of the contract. Also, unauthorized omnibus sworn statement. Okay? Subject to compliance therewith after award of the contract, but before payment. Yun. So, unauthorized omnibus sworn statement. So, opening. Goods. Dito sa envelope number 2. Punta ngayon tayo sa envelope number 2, ang financial component. Okay? So pagdating sa goods and services, ano yung laman sa envelope number 2? Andyan ang bid form, andyan ang applicable price schedule for goods from abroad or within the Philippines, and certification from DTI if claiming preference as a domestic bidder in case merong foreign component merong foreign bidders sa bidding. Okay? So financial component. And ito yung laman ng envelope number 2. Pag infrastructure project naman, ano yung laman ng envelope number 2 for infra? Andyan ang financial bid form. Bid prices in the bill of quantities. So you have to submit the BOQ, and then yung mga prices mo, naka-breakdown siya doon. Detailed estimates, and then cash flow by quarter. So yun yung mga kailangan ilagay sa envelope number 2 ng infra. Consulting services. Ano laman ng envelope number 2 ng consulting services? Financial proposal, submission form, summary of cost, breakdown of price per activity, breakdown of remuneration, reimbursables. Okay, so ito yung laman ng envelope number 2 ng infra, ng consulting, sorry. So as I said, no, yung envelope number 2, hindi mo lang siya basta ilalagay yung price doon. May list of documents din. So kung kulang ito, madi-disqualify ka. Mafe-fail yung second envelope mo, madi-disqualify. Okay? Kasi hindi kompleto yung mga attachments. miscellaneous expenses also. Now, pagkatapos natin i-open, we go now to the next step, which is a detailed evaluation. A detailed evaluation. So kanina kasi pass, fail, presence or absence lang. Dinaanan lang natin sa checklist kung meron or wala. Ngayon, i-detailed examination na natin siya. Okay, so now let's continue. After the signing of the contract, approving contract, then we go to notice to proceed. Notice to proceed must be issued 7 days from the date of approval of the contract. Okay, 7 days after the approving contract. All notices called for by the terms of the contract shall be effective only at the time of receipt thereof by the successful bidder. Okay, saan ipopost ang notice to proceed? 15 days. Ang notice to proceed at yung contract ay kailangan i-post within 15 days from the date of issuance. Saan? Sa bulletin board, sa PhilJeps, at sa website ng agency. Okay, yung notice to proceed at yung contract ay kailangan i-post. The NOA, the NTP, along with the contract are required to be posted at the website of the PhilJeps and agency and at any conspicuous place within 3 calendar days and 15 calendar days from the respective date of the issuance. Okay, so it should be posted in the PhilJeps, in the agency website, and in any conspicuous place of the agency. Okay, ito yung bago, additional. Okay, ang additional requirement is kailangan mo siyang i-post also sa social media account, social media platform ng agency. Yung notice to proceed at yung copy ng contract ay kailangan i-post sa social media account ng agency. A new requirement under Resolution 4-2021 and Section 4 of AO number 34, if your ABC is above 50 million for agencies in the executive department, post-award information, meaning the notice to proceed, okay, shall also be published once in a newspaper of general circulation. Post-award information, notice of award, notice to proceed should be published in the newspaper of general circulation for APCs above 50 million. Ayan. Diretso dito, no? Executive sa GOCC, post-award information shall also be published once in the newspaper of general circulation. Pag ang ABC mo is above 50 million. Failure of bidding. Kaya magkakaroon ng failure of bidding when no bids are received, when there's under Section 35 of RA 9184, bids received where no one is eligible, bagsak silang lahat. Lahat sila bagsak sa post-qual. Okay, or refusal of the post-qualified bidder to accept the award without justifiable cause. So ano mangyayari? They will have to review bakit nang-fail. Then they would have to revise the terms and conditions specification, adjust the ABC, and then magkakaroon ng rebidding and re-advertisement. Okay, so magkakaroon ng rebidding basically pag fail ng bid. Kailan pwede i-cancel ang bidding kailan pwede i-cancel ang procurement activity? Itong 1, 2, 3, luma na yan, nandyan na yan. Diba? Nasa 9184 na yan. When physical and economic conditions have changed, project is no longer necessary, source of fund has been withheld or reduced through no fault of procurement entity. Yung number 4 yung bago. Brought about by the declaration of a state of calamity or implementation of community quarantine or similar restrictions. So in this case, under GBB Resolution 9-2020, pwedeng i-cancel yung procurement activity. Kung na dyan si number 4. Okay, yung number 4 yung bago dito na dinagdag. Revision Clause Section 41. Nabanggit natin kanina, pag ang cancellation mo is because of Section 41, pwede mo ma-refund ang bid docs fee. So, the hope reserves the right to reject any all bids, declare a failure of bidding, or not award the contract. When there's prima facie evidence of collusion, the bank is found to have failed to follow the prescribed bidding procedure. No, meron nakalimutan si bank, hindi siya nag-post, hindi siya nag-pre-bid or whatever ground yun for the hope na hindi ituloy ang award. Or may prima facie evidence of collusion, may nagsumbong kay hope na may nangyari. Or for justifiable reason, the award of the contract will not redound to the benefit of the government. Pareho dun sa grounds for termination. Physical and economic conditions have changed, the project is no longer necessary, source of fund for the project has been withdrawn or reduced. Diba? Parehong ground sa kanina sa grounds for cancellation. Ayan. Let's pause for our, I think, the last knowledge check for this lecture. Ayan. So
That's
that
right,
ends
Yusek.
my
Finally, we are down
presentation on the standard
fifth
bidding procedure
and
for goods, infra, and consulting. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, Yusek Chan. We are down to our fifth and final knowledge check question for this virtual learning session. All right, so the question is, which is a valid ground for the cancellation of procurement activity by the BAC under GPPB Resolution number 09-2020? Letter A, change in management. Letter B, unavailability of PE's website, social media, and PhilJEP's website. Letter C, brought about by the declaration of a state calamity or implementation of community quarantine or similar. Again, the question is, which is a valid ground for the cancellation of procurement activity by the BAC under GPPB Resolution number 09-2020? Letter A, B, C, or D? I'm seeing 41% participation in our Zoom poll. I'm seeing answers din po in our comment section. Thank you very much. Can we have a higher participation po, please? Ayan, 48%. I will be closing the Zoom call in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, Yusek Chan, we have, all right, we have 47% who answered letter C, 32% who answered letter D, 16% who answered letter B, and 5% who answered letter A.
Yes, so the answer is correct na letter C. As mentioned a while ago, ito yung among the choices, ito yung grounds na brought about by the declaration of state of calamity or community quarantine as one of the valid ground for cancellation of procurement.
Thank you very much, Yusek. So again po, the answer is letter C, brought about by the declaration of a state of calamity or implementation of community quarantine or similar restriction. Thank you all very much for participating in our knowledge check portion. All right. So I guess that ends our discussion proper. Again, that was Undersecretary Gerard L. Chan of the Department of Education. And again, thank you very much for leading a very interactive and in-depth discussion on standard bidding procedures for goods, infrastructure projects, and consulting services. Now, to proceed with the open forum, please be reminded that questions which are initially gathered from the Zoom chat box and from our Facebook and YouTube live streaming comment section are filtered, as our resource speaker shall only be answering questions related to our learning session. Once again, let us have our resource speaker, Undersecretary Gerard Chan. Yusek, I believe we have 8 questions on deck, starting, of course, with our first question. What if in a consultancy project, after post-qualification and negotiation, no back resolution was issued, but it was approved by Hope for award of contract?
Yeah, thank you for that question. No? So obviously, since hindi na-follow, no? Di ba, nabanggit natin kanina, one of the grounds for cancellation ng Hope is yung failure of the BAC to follow the proper procedure. So this may be an example, yung wala kang back resolution. Kaso lang na-approve ni Hope. So this would be something irregular. So baka later on maano siya ni COA na bakit nasaan yung back resolution mo ba? Alam sa procurement 101 na yung nag-recommend tapos yung HOPE nag-approve. So in this case, ano yung basehan ni HOPE mag-approve kung walang back resolution? So yun lang po yung problem dito. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Yusek Chan. Swiftly moving on to our second question. Is the back chair for civil works designated as OIC allowed to approve procurement requests for goods and services, disbursement vouchers for payment of retention fees, or issue office order to award the contract?
Medyo internal na po to, no? Internal, ano na to internal procedure ng office to. Whether or not authorized siya to sign disbursement voucher or issue the office order. Depende po sa designation niya sa OIC. Pero normally kasi bilang back chair, so bakit siya mag-allow ng procurement request? So baka magkaroon ng conflict. So yun lang ang kailangan tingnan. So number one, ano yung designation niya sa OIC? Ano yung sakop ng kanyang mga function? Kasama ba to sa kanyang function? And number two, tingnan lang baka mag-conflict ito. So bilang back chair siya, bakit siya nag-approve ng request? So yun ang kailangan tingnan. But this is not a procurement question. This is more about an admin. This is more of an admin question ng agency kung ano yung role niya bilang OIC.
Thank you very much, Chan. So let's just take note of the possible conflicts. Question number 3. Ground for disqualification po ba kapag may nakita na project ang TWG at BAC during post-qualification na hindi nilagay ng supplier or contractor sa statement all ongoing contract form?
Yes, of course, it is a ground for disqualification. It's a ground for post-disqualification kung meron siyang something na hindi nilagay sa all ongoing contract.
The answer is yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. For our fourth question, short list of consultants shall consist of 3 to 7. Paano po kung 1 or 2 lang ang nag-submit at na shortlist? Failure po ba ng bidding?
Hindi naman failure of bidding. Ang 3 to 7 is the recommended number. Siyempre, the more the better para mas marami pagpipilian. Pero kung 1 or 2 lang talaga yung sumali, okay lang naman. Wala naman sinasabi sa 9184 na pag-fail yung bidding just because 1 or 2 yung sumali.
Thank you very much, Yusek. Now, let us have our question number 5. What about unauthorized or subscribed documents in the bid document, but inadvertently not signed by the bidder? How will the BAC treat such?
Well, it is a ground for disqualification kung yun ang requirement na kailangan signed by the bidder yung document. So yes, it is. It's usually used as a ground for disqualification dahil may isang dokumento na walang signature. Lalo na notarized pa siya, tapos walang pirma.
Yes. Thank you very much, Yusek. Now, swiftly moving on to our 6th question. During the evaluation of documents for the opening of bids, upon evaluation of copy 1, technical documents of the supplier, we found out that there is a valid reason for disqualification. Should we still proceed with evaluating the copy 2 financial documents of the supplier or hindi na po dapat?
Yes, malinaw nakalagay sa 9184, di ba? Yung envelope number 1, pag may problema yung envelope number 1, ang nakalagay sa rule, disqualified siya, ibabalik pa nga natin sa kanila yung envelope 1. At hindi na natin bubuksan yung envelope 2. So, hindi mo bubuksan envelope 2, ibabalik mo pa din sa bidder yung envelope 1.
Thank you very much, Yusek Chan. That is very clear. Moving on to our 7th question. What if the invitation to bid were only posted in 3 conspicuous places in PhilJEP's website, but not in the agency's website, despite the existence of the latter? Does it affect the transparency of the bidding?
Well, it is not a ground for to invalidate the bid, no? Because ang nakalagay lang naman sa requirement is yung field reps, yung bulletin board at yung sa social media account. So as a generally hindi naman siya makaka-affect. But it kasi nakalagay siya sa transparency seal. So under 9184 hindi siya ganun ka-required. Hindi siya under AA, under the transparency seal. So hindi siya makaka-affect sa procurement pero maka-question siya kung bakit hindi siya pinost sa immune agency website.
Thank you very much, Yusek. I believe we are down to our 8th and final question for today. And the question is, with regards to statement of all ongoing contracts, kailangan po bang mayroon ng attachments as stated in the standard form, such as notice of award and or contract, notice to proceed, certificate of accomplishment issued by the owner or project engineer?
So no, hindi mo naman kailangan ilagay kasi nakalagay statement of all ongoing contract. Statement lang, ikwento mo lang doon, ilista mo lang doon yung all ongoing contract. Yung mga dokumento na yan, hindi pa kailangan at this stage. Kakailangan siya later on during post-qualification. So sa post-qualification mo ipapakita to mga attachment. But for purposes of the first envelope, enough na yung statement na.
Thank you very much, Yusek. Enough na po yung statement of all. I believe that was our last question. Jan, if you have more questions, you may just type in the event code #SO. We'll answer through an issuance or through FAQ. So at this point, before we proceed to the final reminders, may we request everyone to open their cameras to commemorate this learning session with our resource speaker, Undersecretary Gerard Chan. Again, we will be having 3 shots po, no? In my count. Are we all ready? Okay, I will just check po again my screen. May humahabol. We have LGU San Mateo, LGU Pinamalayan, LGU Odiongan, of course, LGU Bataraza, LGU Dingle. Hello po, ma'am, sir. Thank you very much. All right, I think we're ready. For our first shot, ready, 1, 2, and 3. For our second shot, ready, 1, 2, and 3. And for our last shot, ready, 1, 2, and 3. All right, thank you very much po again, Undersecretary Gerard Elchan of the Department of Education.
Thank you everyone.
Now, before we proceed po, before we all let you go, no, we prepared po just a short pop quiz or activity for you all, no, to see if we really absorb the terminologies of today's learning session. I know all of you are very familiar with word jumble, but for those who are not, this is very easy. All you have to do is guess the jumbled word or terminology by typing your answer in our Zoom chat box and comment section. Ayan. Let's see, andito pa rin po ang ating mga Facebook and YouTube live viewers. Thank you very much for staying with us and for joining us today. So I think we are all ready for our first word. Ayan. Please type your answer in our chat box or comment section. Kailangan po ba ng clue? Ayan. I believe may nakakuha na po ng correct answer. Kung gusto niyo po pa po ng clue, I can give you a clue naman. It is the general rule. What is the general rule? And that's correct. The word is competitive bidding. Congratulations po sa mga nakakuha ng correct answer. I believe lahat po. Yan. Hi, Ma'am Valerie from LGUs Sudipen. Ang bilis mo pong nakuha yung word. So, let's have our second question, second jumbled word or terminology. Ayan. What is the word? Okay. Clue. Bidders submit documents through. Very good. Sino ito? From LGU Dingle, Iloilo. Congratulations, Ma'am Chris. Ang bilis niyo rin pong nakuha. And the correct answer is envelope system. Galing. Sa atin pong Facebook and YouTube live comments, ayan, may mga humahabol po. Thank you very much, Sir Roy, Ma'am Angelina, Ma'am Joy. Thank you very much, Ma'am Tin. Thank you for staying with us through our Facebook live comment section. Let's have our third jumbled word or terminology. Ayan, medyo mahaba-haba po. What is the word? Kailangan po ba ng clue? There you go. Congratulations po. We have from LGU Palawig. Ma'am, congratulations because the correct answer is video conferencing. Ayan. Nakulangan si Ma'am Des, conferencing. Ma'am Luz, congratulations. The correct answer again is video conferencing. So again, we have another jumbled word, I guess. For our fourth jumbled word or terminology, ayan, ano po yan? Bilis. Ni Ma'am Valerie again. Congratulations from LGU Sudipen. The correct answer, the jumbled word here is advertisement. Thank you very much sa ating Facebook comment section. Parang may delay lang po. No? Ayan, advertisement. Thank you very much. Gising pa po sila. Hindi pa po ba tayo gutom? Have we taken our morning snacks na po? Ayan. So, I believe meron pa pong next. This will be our last jumbled terminology. Ayan. 2 words. I'm looking for 2 words here. Tama ba ang spelling? Ayan. Congratulations. Ang bibilis po ninyo from LGU Palawig. The correct jumbled term is eligibility check. Ayan. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Talaga pong attentive tayong lahat no, sa discussion ni Undersecretary Chan. Thank you very much for participating and for your active participation, no, especially in our knowledge check portions. So thank you all very much. Now, before we proceed to the final reminders, allow me to provide a bird's eye view of our today's learning session. So today we had an entire session on standard bidding procedures for goods, infrastructure projects, and consulting services, where we had a comprehensive discussion on the key concepts in the bidding procedures for the procurement of goods and services, infrastructure projects, and consulting services, where we also highlighted the general principles and considerations for the respective procurement. Led by our today's resource speaker, of course, Undersecretary Gerard L. Chan. We do hope that we are all able to have a deep dive on the procurement procedures and requirements, which would ultimately aid you in the fulfillment of your duties and responsibilities as efficient procurement practitioners in your respective municipalities. Now for the final important reminders, as part of our requirements for the provision or issuance of certificates, again, please do not forget to evaluate our today's resource speaker by clicking through the Google Form link shared by our event secretariat in our Zoom chat box. So again po, I would like to stress out that this evaluation form consists po of two parts. First, we have the general evaluation, which includes the evaluation on the program design, support and information, and the presentation materials. And finally, for the second part po, we have the evaluation of the resource speakers. Please note that the responses are editable under the Edit Your Response button or option for the daily evaluation of the resource speakers. Alright, so I believe we are going to show po sa inyo kung sino yung mga nakapag-comply na so that you'll know kung wala po kayo sa list, you'll know that you have to have it done already. Okay, so sa resource speaker, kailangan nakapag-evaluate na po kayo ng 3 resource speakers starting from survey, Ma'am Grace, and then for today, Undersecretary Shan. Okay? Can we share po the list? Yeah, so again po, we will be sharing the list of names that have already evaluated na po. Alright, so this is system generated. So let's see po kung sino-sino na po ang nakapag-evaluate. Let's just wait for our technical team to share the list. And for those who were not able to catch the link to the presentation material, may we request as well our technical team to please float it again in our chat box. And the link, of course, to the Google form. There you go. Yeah, I'll just zoom in my screen. So again, the list that you are seeing from your screens are those who have already evaluated. Okay, meron na po silang submissions.